Name game.
The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B on F. Or an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo.
Name game.
Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Hawkeye, 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 Buckeye, banana, get fanner, for fuck, I, fee, fi, mo, mark, I. Hawkeye, But if the first two letters are ever the same, I drop them both and say the name. I like Bob. Bob drop the B's, Bo, oh Fred. Fred drop the F's, fo, red, oh Mary. Mary drop the M's, mo, airy. That's the only rule that is contrary. Be right, bo, e right, banana, fanner, fo, fee right, fee, fi, mo, me right. Be right, The name game. Hey, everybody!
Come on
thank
to
you.
my house.
Huh. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you everything. Hello, Raiders, welcome in. We should absolutely give you our raid message, which I always have to type it out because I always forget the exact spelling, all that business. But my dearest Raiders, whoop, boop, 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 haha. Hey, Raiders, welcome in. Ratrosphere. Retrosphere. What all were you playing? Retrosphere,
Name
what were you
game.
playing? What were you doing? Tell me what you were playing before you got here and how the stream was going. And also, if I remember correctly, I just got a message. Uh, the name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F. Or an M will appear. And then I say boo at a B. Then I say the name. Then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. PB plays inside. PB plays inside, PB plays inside, but BB plays inside, banana fan of PB plays inside, fee, fi, mo, me, B plays inside. BB plays inside. The name game. Woo! Oh gosh. Oh, gift subs. Diesel shot, bo diesel shot, banana fan bo diesel shot, fee fi mo measles shot. Diesel shot. Spooky lot, bo bookie lot, banana fan bo fooky lot, fee fi mo mookie lot. Spooky lot. Killer Janelle, bo Billa Janelle, banana fan bo Billa Janelle, fee fi mo Mela Janelle. Kayla Janelle. Ooh. VT Proflinks, will BT Proflinks, banana fennel, fo VT Proflinks, V5 mo meaty Proflinks, VT Proflinks, Mimi Mantare, bo baby Mantare, banana fennel, feme rant. Ooh, wait, I gotta say that again. Sorry, wait, hold on. Mimi Mantare, bo baby Mantare, banana fennel, feme Mantare, V5 mo Ame Mantare. Mimi Mantare, but I've got to do that one again. I need to get it smoother. Sorry. One more time. Mimi Mantare, but Mimi Mantare, banana fennel, Mimi Mantare, fee fi mo. Ooh, nope. One more time. Sorry. Sorry. One more time. Mimi Mantare, but baby Mantare, banana fennel, Mimi Mantare, fee fi mo. Ame Mantare. Mimi Mantare. The name game. Woo! Once more with feeling. Thank you, Hawkeye. Oh, so first off, thank you, BK, Be Right, for those gift subs. Thank you so much. And thank you all of our raiders for coming in. So also, people from the Retrosphere, what were you playing before you got here? You should tell me. I mean, you don't have to. I'm not the boss of you. You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying I would like it if you did. But, I'm not the boss of you. But, if you wanted to, you could. Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole, and it is our Mac Gaming Thursdays, and we are playing the winner of the 2020 Independent Game Festival's Excellence in Audio award, Mutazione, also known as Adults Trauma Dumping on Teenagers, in which this young teenager goes off to an island because her grandfather is sick. And this island is a place where nobody goes because sometime in the past, 75 years? I don't know. Sometime in the past, a comet hit the island, killing most everybody, but those who did not die became mutated. Oh, so you have a world with a lot of mutants. And when I say mutated, I don't mean like Magneto mutations, at least not that I can tell. I mean, like you've turned into a cat girl, or you turn green, or et cetera. And so like nobody goes to this island, and her mother seems to have, our protagonist has never been on this island. It seems like there's clearly backstory we don't know. Her mother left the island, maybe when she was younger. I don't know how old her mother was when she left, but she left. And the daughter grew up not on the island, but the grandfather was sick, so now she's come back to go and see her grandfather. It turns out he was dying. That's a lot for our teenager. He was like 16. Awkward, but she, found some plants and, she has helped him, so he's getting better. But also, there's some kind of weird, creepy prophetic bird in her dreams who's actually also real. But then also, it turns out that growing gardens are magical. And so, this is a magical gardening game, but also it's a game of town gossip. These are the things that you should know. That is where we're at. Uh, this is where we're at right now. Oh, turning into a cat girl sounds like an awesome mutation. I feel like it is a good mutation, especially if you could just kind of like hang out and like bask in the sun. Musach says, listen to a post-war propaganda song about the economic miracle. Oh, sounds as if you listen to it today. So here's the thing about that song. Sounds strange if you listen to it today. So Musach, I have a question for you. Is it Bruttosozialprodukt by is it the Spider Murphy gang? Is it them? Ja, 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 jetzt wird's Liebe in die Hände gespuckt. Wir steigern das Bruttosozialprodukt. Ja, 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 jetzt wird's wieder in die Hände gespuckt. Ba, 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 da, da, da. Is that the one? Because that's a great song. And it is no, it's not. It's Geier Sturzflug. Ist es nicht. Oh. 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 That's okay. 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 Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Because that song Bruttosozialprodukt is a great song, and I think it's the Spider Murphy gang, right? I think so. They're the same ones who did uh one of my favorite German new wave songs, Neudeutsche Welle, NDW. Skandal Sperrbezirk. Uh, I mean the one. I mean the one. I mean is from the early 1950s. Muselch, will you drop a link in our Discord, please? Because that sounds like everything I want to hear about right now. And also maybe one day I'll write a paper on it. I don't know, but this seems like a song I need to know about. Also, is it if it's early 1950, that means it's Schlager, yeah? Yeah, Schlager. Because early 1950 means it's too, I mean, I suppose it could be jazz, but it's too early, right, for rock and roll. And it's probably Schlager, is what I'm guessing. Krellin! A watch streak. Krellin, you're on a watch streak. That's exciting. Hey, I haven't missed a single Trooper screen in a while. You haven't. This is like, hey, everybody. Hi. We have Raiders in. So, hi, Raiders. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Trooper SJP, and I play the games and I also the RPGs. And
We're in the money.
our stream, I'm going to sing. So, anytime something that happens that's alert worthy, there's a song that's related to it, and then I sing that song. That is how that goes, in case you were wondering. And I like to play story heavy games and then chat with people about philosophical things, and also think deeply about the games and such that we run. I am currently not living where I normally live because I'm on a research leave. So I'm off in Seattle when I normally live in Massachusetts. And so the reason why am I telling you this? This is why. Because right now we just got bits from Atomica. And when we get bits, I like to say thank you by singing the song We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I sing it in Pig Latin. But the thing is that when I sing it normally, because it's like an 20s song, I like to sing with my megaphone so I can get my old-timey megaphone voice on. But my megaphone is in Massachusetts. I unwisely did not bring it with me to Seattle when I don't know what I was thinking. So I have to like make a fake megaphone, which maybe if I do it this way, it'll be better. Maybe. This, by the way, what I'm using as the paper that I'm using as my megaphone was the paper that I gave this morning because I'm also currently remotely attending an academic conference, and I gave my paper this morning at 8:45, and it was intense. It went well. So I just oop, oop. Just want a really good megaphone. We got this. Hold on. Wait, why am I just now noticing you didn't bring your megaphone with you? I know, it's a terrible oversight. I don't know how it happened that I did not bring my megaphone with me because it is a crime against humanity. I should have, and I just didn't think about it. I know why I didn't, or I know why I know what was going on in my mind, but not really. And it was my landlady who insisted I basically not bring anything, and so I was really trying to bring only the bare minimum, which is why I don't have a lot of my costume pieces. But then I forgot to bring my megaphone, and that makes me sad.
We're in the money.
You know, let's do it this way. I'm gonna just do it this way. I think this way will be better. It probably will not be better. Why can't I get my paper megaphone happening today? I don't even know. All right, here we go. Yep. Here we go. All right, here we go. Aha. Tomika says, I think of my class set. I have to register tomorrow. Classes will go from 12:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. You know, I think I need to email my students. I'm on leave, so I should not be emailing my students, but students don't always pay attention to these things, so I think I need to make it a little bit like, you can email them. Say, hey, what are you doing? All right. B. Wright says, your proper megaphone is indeed mega, but this may be a killer phone. It is pretty impressive. Thank you, B. Wright. And also, thank you, B. Wright, for those bits. And so, I will now. Airway and hey, see, the thing is, when you use, pardon me, when you use the megaphone, it kind of distorts what frequencies come through. So I kind of want that vibe, you know? You know what I think the problem is? Let's test. Is it that I'm using more than one piece of paper and that is throwing me off? It could be. Airway and hey, you know what though? Actually, it sounds better with more pieces of paper. So sorry. I do want to sing this, and I'm going to. I want it to be right. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be bad. There we go. I think that just sounds much better. Mm-hmm. Do I have tape? I bet I didn't bring any tape with me. Airway and hey, that sounds pretty good. I just can't keep it steady. Airway and hey, the anime. Airway and hey, the anime. He's way up, gaily up, way up, way up, way up, way to tit, gaily on way. Airway and hey, the anime. Ede I skates are on, say. Old man did yes and pray, ooh, yare, ooh, three, what's down, way, young way, oh. Even every eat red lands, of weird brands, ooh, tay day. And we see the only other look at the I guarantee the eye, we're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Thank you for those bits, both Atomica and B Right. And also, thank you for the excuse to try to get this paper megaphone working. But you know, I think we've learned multiple sheets sound better, and they're slippery. I bet if I had, you know, I had like cardboard, something like that. Maybe that would be pretty decent. Ooh. Anyway, hi, how you doing? What's new? What's going on? Let me see. What is going on in chat? Let's see. Oh, you posted the link in research. Thank you, Miss Such. Thank you very much. You're probably I think you've class sets. Your class will go from 12:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. Not a bad schedule, actually. 2 hours later, says Atomica. Tune in tomorrow, true believers. So I found out one of my teachers has an amazing sense of humor today. Oh, that's good. We like good senses of humor. So, my friends, hi. Let me tell you, before we start, Mutazione, the game of bad accents, I got a bit of news for you. So, you know, last week I didn't get my video game streams in at all. And also, actually, did I stream it all last week? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Well, I probably didn't actually, right? Because last week, did I? Maybe I did a Tuesday? What is happening? What's happening with time?
Name game.
I was going to tell you, but I'll think about it later. The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, on M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fan, or info. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Praxagorthysmophoria. Praxagorthysmophoria, Praxagorthysmophoria, Blaxamorthysmophoria, banana phenophyll, Praxagorthysmophoria, fee, fi, mo, maxagorthysmophoria. Praxagorthysmophoria. The name game. Hey, Prax, it is good to see you. Thank you for that resub. You did not stream at all last week because of vampire shenanigans and your own fancy schedule. That's right. That's right. So, but I did get to do the wonderful vampire versus werewolf two-shot last week, so that was pretty cool. Loved it. But I was at I did a paper. I gave a colloquium talk on Friday, so I couldn't stream Thursday or Saturday. But this week, and also I just gave a talk this morning at 9 in the morning, and I was spending all day the day before dealing with like tech and coordination, but that went well. I've got one more panel that I'm going to be on, which is Saturday after my Saturday stream, but I don't have to give a paper. I just have to sort of present the panel and make sure and introduce all the speakers and make sure people do not go over time. And then I think that'll be all of my big going off and doing academic things. I'm giving a guest lecture, but other than that, I'm pretty good. So that's pretty awesome. But I have 1,000 bits of email. But I am pretty certain I'm gonna have a full regular schedule this week with Mutazione today, the Gamblers tomorrow, and then Heaven's Vault on Saturday. If I don't play Heaven's Vault on Saturday, I'm gonna die. I just want to, I have to play it. That's all. So it is knock on wood, that is my big goal. And then Sunday, I've got an offline game, and then Roleplay Reflect, the first session of our second cycle, which is the roll, where we will be rolling up characters for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, which I'm very excited about. But I do have other news. And I realized that I have only half of the news, so I can only tease and not actually give you full details, which is fine. So I was sitting around thinking about the Streamiversary, what am I going to do for it? I want to do something. And I was chatting with Lindy about it because we're streaming twins. And I think I know what it is. I think I have it. It will involve me doing some logistics and getting some stuff together. And it's going to be important that I try to get at least the first half of that together sooner rather than later, for reasons that you will know about sooner rather than later. But it looks like the goal is to have this happen in December for time purposes, right? Probably right before I leave, or a little bit before I leave, I'm hoping maybe mid-December might do it, somewhere around there. So we're gonna have our Streamiversary. It's gonna be probably mid-December, mid to late December. I'm picking up my moving van on the 31st of December, so before then. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at maybe I cannot tell you what it is yet because there's some stuff I've got to do first, and I actually realized that I hadn't set down the exact date, which is awkward, but it is happening. At least in my mind, it's happening. It really depends on how the logistics work out, but now I know what's happening. So at least theoretically, hopefully, but I'm excited. Okay. And also you all will be excited, I think, if I get to do what I want to do, which involves me just taking a little bit of time. Anyway, I'm going to read chat. Atomic says, first thing in the morning, I had a class with a fellow student I consider a friend. He asked what we were doing last period. I told him we had a paper due. It's not due for 2 weeks. Last period, I got the teacher to ask him if he was ready to do his presentation on the paper. It's not a presentation paper. My friend froze like a deer in headlights until I couldn't help but bust out laughing. He couldn't decide whether to laugh too or throw a desk at me. Thankfully, he laughed. See, that's good. The teacher didn't even ask context either, just said, can you tell X is presenting first today? And he was like, sure, no problems. Oh, you added Proto Social Bruti as a link. Oh, thank you, Musich. That's such a great song, by the way. So, hi. Hi. Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you all. It has been, too long since we hung out in a video game context. And I'm glad that we're here today. Was there anything else I wanted to say before we got into Mutazione? We're doing a giveaway. Don't let me forget, because I will. I will forget that we have a giveaway happening. So sometime around, I don't know, like in an hour, maybe? Like, remind me in an hour that we're doing a giveaway. Yeah, Broto Social Product is also a really clever satire, and it's really well done. I just think it's such a good game. Such a good song, pardon me. Okay, I feel like, so I have some things I want to talk to you about when it comes to games and also GURPS, but I will do that once we start. You know what I'm saying to you? Because I just think that's the way to do it. Speaking of, yeah, okay, so I want to tell you something else, and that is the talk that I gave on Friday went really well. In my field, it is standard to have your paper all written out. Like, this is the one I gave this morning, and it was too long. I mean, I knew it was. I timed it. It was like, if I speed read, I can get it in 9 minutes and 16 seconds, which was what we were aiming for. And it is always said that 1 page of written text, double spaced, is 2 minutes. So 1 page is 2 minutes, right? And which means that since we were aiming for basically 9 minutes and 11 seconds, 16 seconds. Yeah, I probably should have had a 4-page paper. That's what I probably should have had. And I worked really hard to get it down to 5. And I got it down to 5, but I did not get it down to 4. And I was like, 5, if I read fast, I can do it. And that's too fast to read, so I didn't read it that fast, and I went over 9:16. It's fine. We had time to do all the things we needed to do, but I gotta tell you, it's hard. It is hard. It is hard indeed. But it all went well. It all went well, and that was lovely. Let's see. How late am I streaming tonight? Oh, yes. So I should be streaming right about time, right? Probably like maybe 9:15-ish, because we started basically more or less on time. So probably around like 9:15 is what I'm thinking for how late I'm streaming. Atomic says, oh, in other exciting news, I saw a Rocky Horror Picture Show shadow play from students on Halloween. Oh, they recognized me in the halls from the meet and greet after the show. They invited me to their movie critic nightclub, so we'll be doing that in an hour and a half. Yay! Okay, that's awesome. That is awesome. I love that. I love that. In academia and pro wrestling meet. You have 8 minutes. Do you go over? You're taking time from those. Yes. 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 But here's the thing. Luckily, I was the last person of the 3, and we built in extra time. So I think that was okay. Also, it's important not to go over time. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget that includes introduction. Oh, man. See, that's the problem. Okay, that's what got me. You always forget that it also includes introductions. You've got your paper, and before you start, you've got to say, I want to thank so-and-so and so-and-so, and that also takes up time. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, dang it. In case you want to know why it was 9 minutes and 16 seconds, which is not a normal length, it's because 9 minutes and 16 seconds is 4:33 times 2. 4:33, the famous John Cage piece that is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. And I had to, like, the panel I was on was a very intense panel, and my panelists were like, we don't know if we can, like, we don't know if we can say anything. They were all kind of freaking out, and I was like, okay, hold on. Here's what we'll do. We'll give each other 4:33 twice, so 8 minutes and 66 seconds. And in those 8 minutes, 66 seconds, you say whatever you feel safe enough to say. And then if that is 2 minutes, then we leave 6 seconds, 7 minutes and 16 seconds of silence. And we make the audience sit in that uncomfortable silence for a bit. And so then I was able to, like, by the way, I'm not the panel chair. I'm just a fellow panelist, but everybody was freaking out. So I spent all day yesterday going back and forth with folks trying to make sure that everybody was feeling safe and everything worked out. And it really did. So it was very good. And people had feelings, and that was positive. Let's see. Hawkeye says, "Oh yes, the old green light, yellow light, red light challenge for speaking at a conference." Oh, Hawkeye. I'm the timekeeper at the panel on Saturday, but I'm remote and nobody else is, and so I'm just hoping I can get them to not go over. Because if I were in person, what you do in person, is you get a piece of paper that says 5 minutes, and when they're talking, you just are like, and you get their attention, you hold them, and but since I'm remote, they might just ignore me. So I need to make sure I get to cut them off if they go too long. Krellin says, time limits is why I dislike people that always start interviews with, "First, I'd like to thank you for having me on," and trite nonsense like that, because they're eating at a time that could be spent answering the question you were just asked. Yeah. So I try to keep my thank you to like a sentence so I can just like get into it, because, I also, surprising no one, I'm sure, I do write long. So I do try to, hop to it. But, so I want to say something about GURPS today, because I'm having this really interesting conversation that was kind of frustrating. Until just now, I realized that we were having a very different conversation. That I thought we were having a conversation that this person said that we were having, but it turns out they were not having that conversation. They're having a different conversation. They had a secret agenda for their conversation, and I just figured it out, which means I can pivot. They still brought up some good points, but I want to share some of these things with you because I think they're interesting. The reason why I engaged with this person is because I thought the points were interesting, and I wanted to like wrestle with some of these thoughts. They're kind of being a hater, but I thought it was for reason A, but then it turns out it was like an underlying thing. But that's okay. Not a hater of me. Side note. But I thought we could talk about it because I thought you might find it interesting. You need mood lighting. Slowly change your zoom lighting from green to yellow to red. Yes, which I can do actually, but they may not be paying attention to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because when people are overtime, they know it and they just do this one. We are getting our grandfather to have a makeover is what we're doing right now. So let me go. And by the way, this game, it has been like 2 weeks, so we've forgotten all of the accents, and we're going to do our best. This is what we're going to do. There, how are you feeling now? Like a new man. By the way, I gesture with my left hand all the time, but my mic's on the left side, which is a bit awkward because I then have to gesture over. So we just want you to know that the struggle that I'm facing. Although still an old one, huh? Well, you look so vigorous. Now, there's a word no one ever says about young people. I feel like, what would a Spike say? $1,000,000 bucks. And do you know what? I think I'm going to pay my old friend Yoke a visit. Ooh. Stinky salts and oils. Oh, I can still talk to them. But I do want to tell you something about GURPS. We were visited by a lovely great stig beetle this morning. I will make a joke. Yeah, apologies if my scream of greeting woke anyone up. Poor thing. I suppose things are a bit wilder here compared to the big city. Go on, girl. Don't you have some errands to run? Apparently, I do have errands to run, so we're going to just walk around. I don't even know what I'm doing at this moment. Oh. Chapter 4. Birthday. I don't think there are that many. I don't think there are that many days in this game, which means I do think we can get it going. Oh, Aelin said to get some seeds from Mori. Okay, so we have to get seeds. Okay. Great. Yes. Yes. Okay, so I want to talk. So we've got to go and find Mori and get seeds. That is going to be our goal. But I want to talk to you about this conversation that we had, this sort of ongoing conversation. I've talked to Lindy about it. She no longer wants to hear about it, but I want to talk to you about it because I realized, because I just had this new revelation, but this person was actually not, they said they were having a conversation about A, but that was really not what it was. Now then, one of the side effects of this regrettable loss of visual acuity is that my auditory powers are greater. I could hardly believe my ears. But did Nonno make it out of his house this morning? He's gone to the bathhouse to freshen up. Well, that is truly wondrous. I tried to get out in time to see for myself, but I simply could not move quick enough. In that case, I am determined. I will stay here until he emerges. You'll forgive me if I leave our garden research for a little later today? Oh, I'm sure he won't want to go home without seeing you too. It has been too long. Too long. I'm going to talk to him one more time. Perhaps I should have smartened up too. I cannot let Nonno outdo me. Okay, so this is what I thought the conversation was about. It was a thread on Reddit where someone asked, what are your favorite like heavy crunch systems? And people were responding with their suggestions. And of course, somebody responds with GURPS as their favorite heavy crunch system. And somebody else replied, the person that I ended up having this conversation with, replied that the problem with GURPS is that you have to create, like, it's this thing people like to say, and I really hate when people say it. They say, the thing about GURPS, it's not actually an RPG at all. It's a toolbox to make your own RPG, which I don't actually think it is, because for me, the word toolbox to make your own RPG implies that you cannot play it out of the box, and you can. You can just pick up GURPS Lite and just go. But he's like, and the problem with GURPS is that it's just too, it's just not a, you have to do so much work to create the entire setting and all those things. And I said, well, there are setting books. Like if you do not want to create your own world, there are setting books that you can use, right? Yeah, it's a universal rule system. That's all. So, I was like, because that's the thing. People were like, oh my gosh, you've got to build everything from scratch. I was like, you don't. You could just pick up a setting book. Transhuman Space is great. There are a bunch of them, right? You just pick up a setting book. And I thought that would end it. And then he comes back to me and he says, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that that if you as a GM don't do, I'm not very fond of it, but source books are very good. Yeah, I mean, again, I almost never recommend GURPS because most people hate it. Or at least, including many people who've never played it, which is fine. But again, it's not for everybody. It's a simulationist game, and it's a universal game. So a lot of people are just not going to like it, and I recognize that, which is why I never recommend it on Reddit, ever. Also because people always, like, they sort of hate on the fact that people who are GURPS fans will recommend GURPS, but they do not say the same thing about fans of other systems. So I just don't recommend it. That's not the point. Anyhow, so he was like, no, what I mean is that the game is just so, like, you just have to, like, you have to do so much work as the GM to make sure that nothing is broken because the game itself is imbalanced and broken. And so you have to do all this work so things are, like, not bad. You have to, like, hound your players. And I was like, I've never had, hey, Rissa, so I've never actually had that problem, I said. Like, what do you mean, right? And he was like, well, I mean, for example, it's so widely imbalanced because it doesn't make any sense not to have like a 20 or 30 in your main weapon skill and just putting all of your points in that one main weapon skill. Crone says, even without a setting book, the core book has a lot of base assumptions built into it. There's not that many knobs you need to set to play out of the box, even without a setting book. It's true. I mean, like when the very first campaign I ran in 1988 was fantasy with no magic. And I just did that straight out of the basic book. Like that was it. And so I was like, he was like, yeah, because the problem with GURPS is that basically everything is so unbalanced and so broken that it just doesn't make any sense to do anything else other than put like all of your points in your main weapon skill. So like all of a sudden everybody has like 30 points in their weapon, or 20, like a weapon score of 20 or 30. And if you've ever played with a game with scores that high, it's not interesting. And I said, that is not my experience. As a matter of fact, I've been playing since 1988, and I have never had a score of 20 in my weapon skills, and nobody else I've played with has, except for the one exception is this arena game that I was in, where we were all arena combatants, and that is all we did. We didn't do any RP, it was just an arena game. And then people did have scores of 20 or so, but I just don't actually find it to be the case that everybody has a score of 20 in their combat skill. And then this person came back to me. Remember, at this point, I'm thinking that this conversation is about how it only makes sense, and everybody who plays puts like huge numbers of points in weaponry, and that's right. That's what I'm thinking this conversation is about. So then he says to me, so I'm like, yeah, it's just not my experience that people do that. And he says, well, that's probably because, Carl says, I've never met a player that would min-max that way. Even when I was playing with my middle school age brothers and friends, they wanted characters that did more than just kill things well. Okay, Krellin, this is why the conversation got weird, right? Because he says to me, because I actually use the word, your highest combat skill is about 13, you think, says Milsuch. Milsuch, I would recommend 16 for combat skills. I'd recommend as a target number, 16 for combat skills. That sounds weird, so weird. Maybe I've been spoiled with my experience of GURPS being at Bill's table, right? So I'm thinking this is weird, and he's thinking this is like an intrinsic problem. And I said, and there are a lot of reasons why I'm like, this makes no sense to me. And I said, well, I mean, I guess I had this reaction at Krellin. I was like, I guess if you are playing a really kind of a min-max combat optimized game, I guess. And he says, no, that's not min-maxing. That's just what you would do if you are going to play in a normal way. And then he says this thing, which was like why I kind of got sucked into this conversation, because it was such a weird concept. He says, hold on, let me get here for a second. He says, well, the thing is, if you haven't had that experience where everybody has 12 in their combat skill, that's probably because he says this thing with such a weird framing. He says, I'm not saying this is you, but in my experience, people who don't have 20 in there, then my DM fooled me. Oh no, Milsuch, I would tell you, I would say no for 13. I would say 14, 15, optimal is 16. And I will tell you why in a second, because I was talking to him about this too. I said, so what he said to me was, he says, probably what's happening is you probably have a subconscious bias where you're metagaming. No such, I'll tell you about it. I said, you probably this, you're like, it's like, if you don't have a 20 or a 30, so Rissa, this is the thing. 12 to 13 is professional skill, is what they say. Right. Well, actually, no, is starting professional, right? So according to the book itself, 12 to 13 is your main professional skill if you're a beginner, like once you're able to qualify, but 14 is expert and then 20 is master in that skill. But what I would say is, yeah, basically, yeah, right? Like 12, 13, they say is entry level skill. And I would say, cool. That is what the book says. However, if we're talking about a skill wherein it is a life or death situation, or you have to do it under pressure, then I would say add +2 to that, right? So if you are an accountant, then absolutely 12, 13 for your accountancy skill. If you are a helicopter pilot, add 2 to that. Or if it's gun, like sword, gun, helicopter pilot, surgery, things where like it is this critical under pressure, you're likely to take penalties kinds of things, then just bump it by 2. So generally speaking, I would say look at 12 to 13 for your entry level professional skill. But if it is a skill that is a little bit deadly, add 2 to that. So, you're looking at 14, 15. And if you want to be a bit more optimal about it, 16 is the optimal number. EMTs, yeah, EMTs do. That's right. And I would say if I'm an EMT, I want a 14 to 15 first aid, right? Just like as a entry level, right, realistic first aid. That's what I would say. Because you're going to be getting penalties, right? And you know that. So it's right. So anyway, so this guy says basically me saying that it makes no sense to put all of your skills, all of your skill points, and he says, there's no reason. I was like, he says, there's no reason to put points in anything else other than your main combat skill. Because, depends on how bad the conditions you work in or how dire the failures. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he says, because otherwise anything you're doing doesn't make any sense with the mechanics of the game world. So we're actually having 2 slightly different conversations at this moment, and I don't realize what the real conversation is. So he says, and I said, I think a well-rounded fighter would do better. And he's like, yeah, the book says that, but it's a lie. The book is lying to you because that's just not true. A person with a 20 in their main weapon skill, nothing else, is always going to do better than a person who is well-rounded. And I was like, oh, I just don't think that's true, actually. I really think that is not true. And he says to me, well, that's probably because you're subconsciously metagaming. And I'm like, this is a weird comment. And he's like, I'm not really saying that you're not, but I think that's what people do. They don't take into account the reality of the game world. And so therefore they metagame by being well-rounded, when if you actually take into account the mechanics and what that says about the game world, you would only ever put all of your points in your one combat skill. And I said, so first off, please note, he is saying, his argument is that it is metagaming to make a well-rounded character, because that's how it works in our world. But in the GURPS world, it doesn't work that way. So I had like 2 points. One, like my 2, sort of like, there's like a 2 level of counter. One, I actually disagree that only giving yourself one skill is realistic in most game worlds. And 2, also I dispute the fact that having all of your points in one combat skill makes you better than any other combatant, right? So like, I was like, no, I don't think so. He would not have appreciated Aki's cooking, right? So yeah, I also prefer well-rounded, but I actually also think they're better combatants, right? Axe 22 gets foiled the second they have to climb a hill. Right. But of course, his point is like, but none of those things matter, because it would only make sense in the game world to put all of your points in the combat skill, because that's what's going to get you killed. So it makes no sense to do anything else. So I was like, okay, there are 2 points here. One, actually, I do not think it's realistic in a game world to only have points in a combat skill. He says it is, and I said, you are assuming that a person in the game world can choose what skills they have. Right, that they can choose to have this skill or that skill. And certainly there are points where that is true, but I would also argue that there are things that you do not get to choose because you just live your life. If you think about your character as a person who lives, you're going to pick up skills other than a weapon skill, unless you have very, very specific and kind of strange background. And I said, for example, you're going to pick up area knowledge for your hometown, whether you like it or not, just because you grew up there. And he was like, no, you can just avoid learning that skill. And anybody in that game world understanding that more points in your main skill is better than anything else would just do that. And I was like, and of course, he was accusing me of metagaming for that. And I was like, yeah, this is not my idea of metagaming. So I did a bit of a snarky thing. No, this is also, I think, is my main point, which is actually I just think he's wrong about having 20 in your weapon skill that makes you better combatant than anything else. And so I said, okay, I just don't have this problem with my players. I have just never had a player who does this, mostly because they just tend to make well-rounded, reasonable characters. I don't actually have to spend time like policing them this way. And he's like, yeah, but that's, and I was like, okay, all right. I said, if I had a player like you who believed that everything had to be done in game in this way, otherwise it's broken, or metagaming. If I had a player like you, who I actually still wanted to be at the table, what I would do, because we have rules for this in GURPS, if you really want to do it this way, we know that at the age of 15, because his whole point was like, oh wait, sorry, I have to rewind. So he says, like, it doesn't make any sense for your average 20-point foot soldier not to have short sword 20. And then anybody who's even more experienced is going to have like a 30 or a 40. And I said, well, it costs 40 points to get short sword 20. A 20-point character cannot afford that. And then he says, well, but sure they can, because they can take disadvantages. So I was like, well, the disadvantage limit is 10 in GURPS 4th edition, so the max they can get is 30 points, which will not get them. It just will not get them as short sword 20. It's like, well, but they can lower their IQ. It's like, not in GURPS 4th edition. Anything that is a negative point counts as a disadvantage. So actually, this thing that you're saying is like going to just be de rigueur, cannot mechanically happen. He's like, well, it's not normal to be 20 points. It was like, no, it's not. I didn't know why you picked 20, but you did. But, right, so we were sort of talking about this, and then, so this is like this, he was like going off about these like 20-point characters, and it was like, so, okay, I said, and he was like really into this idea that's really broken, and the math doesn't work, and I was like, I just don't even think, So, I was like, okay, if you're gonna be really weird about it this way, this is how we'll do it. I feel like he's coming from a different background entirely, where characters have no life before they start adventuring, except that he's arguing that this is actually how it would be. At least this is what it seems like their argument's about at this moment. Such as most people who evaluate game systems or just classes, etc., focus only on combat effectiveness, even though there's often more to RPGs than combat. Granted, combat is probably the only instance, regardless of game system, that needs to have at least a little bit of crunch. But I think it's short-sighted. Yeah. But the thing is, for me, that I actually, like, right now I'm arguing this space, but there's a fundamental argument, which is actually he's wrong, that a person who puts 20 points in their main weapon skill and nothing else will be a better combatant, which is what he's trying to argue. Is this one of the guys that's like, people are only 20-point characters? I don't think he was. I just don't think he really, he doesn't seem to be that person. So he says, so he's like, I was like, oh, I said, okay, well, if you really want to do it this way, realism, in-game realism, and you're going to be really, really weird about it, here's what we would do if I had a player like you. I would say, okay, according to the rules, at the age of 15, you get like, it's 15 years old when you get your average stats is 10 across the board. So since you want to go and be your average foot soldier, what I would do is I would say, all right, we are going to take out the time use sheet. GURPS has a time use sheet. There are 168 hours in a week, and it has a sheet that you can track every single hour that you spend in the week. And this is used. First off, it's optional. You don't have to use it. And it tends to be used for like downtime if you want to track, like if you're like, oh, we're going to be on a boat for 2 months, you can just fill this out and track what you've been doing over that time period. It's a way to, it's basically study. It's like gaining skills through study is what it is. So I was like, well, all right. So we're going to make you a TL2 Roman Legionnaire, because that is one of the ways you can actually get your short sword. Because if you were going to go medieval, you might end up being a longbowman, which is not what you want, obviously. So I was like, we're going to start at 15 and we're going to track all of your hours usage until you hit 75 character points, because 75 is what they consider like competent and able to start adventuring. So, and I did some math. I was like, okay, now just math wise, it says here that you need to spend 56 hours on sleeping, 20 hours on food and all this kind of maintenance. You've got this and this. I said, since we're going to be in a medieval hair, but you've got to spend 8 hours on religious services and another 4. So basically you're going to have 40 hours a week that you can spend studying. And you also get 1/4 of the time you spent working as on-the-job training, right? So that's 10 hours that you get just learning through like your work. And as it turns out, self-study is only worth half the value. It's 200 hours for 1 character point. So, and intensive study is ×2, which means basically it's going to even out 20 hours. Like each week is 20 hours for your study and then 20 hours for on-the-job training. And I said, but you want to be realistic, right? Because this is all what you're saying. In which case, if we're going to do this, you can choose what you want to spend your study hours on. But I, as the GM, I'm going to pick what you learn in your job. Because if you're going to go and become a Legionnaire, you don't get to pick You do not get to pick what you're studying at work. Your commander is going to say, dig a lot of ditches, hike a lot. You need to have the soldier skill, right? These are things that's going to happen, right? You're not a free agent who can just do whatever you want. So, and it'll take you 8 years, right, to get to 75 points. And by the time you get to the end of those 8 years, you'll have 38 points you can spend on whatever you want, and I will have 38 spends I can spend. I can tell you whatever it is that you're going to do. But also, since you want to do this like realistic, every month you have to make a job training roll. And if you critically fail that job training roll, we're gonna have to do a battle and you might die, and then your character's dead at 16, and then you have to start a new one. Because apparently this is how you think is the only way to be realistic. Right? So he did respond later most recently when I realized what this whole conversation was actually about, but we'll get back to that later. That reminds me of Cyberpunk 2020, where everybody always takes reflexes 10 and 10 in the weapon skill. Sure, you always hit, but you do that too with a ref of like 7 and a skill of 5. A reflex. Technically, you waste 5 skill points for basically the same effect. Roman Legionnaires are going to have, thank you, Krone. Roman Legionnaires are going to have shield, javelin, sword at a minimum, because those are the weapons they use. Right, I was like, yeah, if we're going to be realistic, you actually cannot be a Roman Legionnaire and just have short sword as your skill. You're going to have soldier, hiking, probably military savoir-faire, probably heraldry, javelin, short sword, shield, right? Like there's going to be a bunch of skills you just have to have. You're also going to have, yeah, like that's just, right? Like you don't, I do not think it's metagaming to say that you have to have those things. And he was like, yeah, but it is, because in that world, it makes no sense to take any other skills other than your weapon skill. I was like, well, you have to make a job roll every month or bad things happen. And that job roll is not based on sword, it's based on soldiers. So actually it does cooking, camping, masonry. Like Roman Legionnaires did a whole lot of building, right? That's what they did. So like that's right. So I was like, okay, anyway, but we have to get to what he is basically saying is his main point, which is, but he argued that short sword isn't even considered the main weapon of the Roman Legionnaire. That's right. You'd also have spear too, right? You'd also have spear as well, right? Absolutely. So, but his main point is that it doesn't make any sense to do anything other than that, because that is what makes you the best combatant, is to have 20 in your combat or 30 in your skill, because then you can just hit everybody in the eye and then you win immediately. Just hit everybody in the eye and you immediately win. And I said, okay, so I actually dispute you that the best combatant is the person who has 20 in their like main combat skill and nothing else. I actually just think you're wrong, and let me tell you why. First off, if your strategy sounds like a person that doesn't want to play an RPG, just a battle simulator, except Rabbit Ray, he doesn't like it. He's arguing this because he thinks it's bad. But I think, well, we'll get there in a second. So I said, look, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you want to create that Johnny 1 skill, who is going to just reliably hit everybody in the eye, and that's what he spends all his points in, let me tell you how that's going to look. You're going to have 10s across the board, right? 10 strength, 10 dex, 10 intelligence, 10 health. What you want is to reliably hit people in the eye, 20 is not going to do it. You need a 25, because eyes are -9 to hit, and the most optimal number for your combat is a 16, because at 16, so 17, so here's in GURPS, you're rolling 3d6, right? 17 and 18 is always a failure. Always. So anything above, right, that's the point. 17, 18, always a failure. And generally speaking, they're also always critical failures, except if you have a 16 or above, then 17 is just a regular failure, not a critical. And also, if 3 and 4 is a critical success, if you have a 15 or above, 5 is also critical success. If you have a 16 or above, 6 is also critical success. So if you're trying to be all optimal min-maxed, apparently, which is not metagaming, then you're going to want a 16 after your penalties, which means you're going to want a 25. And a 25 costs 60 points to get. And I said, and let's say we're going to go with like a 75-point character. You spend that 60 points to have short sword 25, and then you can get combat reflexes. And you think that you are going to beat my character that I make that does not spend 60 points on that skill. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let me tell you how it's going to happen. Here's a problem with your character, Johnny 1 skill. You have no strength. which means when you start wearing armor, you're going to be encumbered, which is going to decrease your dodge. Also, short sword isn't the optimal skill because you get murdered by a gun with a longbow 25, right? Thank you. And I said, okay, so first off, you can't really wear really good armor or heavy armor or really protective armor because you don't have the strength for it. And even like minimal armor is going to make you encumbered some. Okay. Also, you think that you're going to be all badass because your parry is really, really high. Cool, 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 cool. So let me just tell you some things that I'm seeing right off the bat because you think this is the way to go. One, your speed isn't particularly good and your movement's not particularly good. So if I'm doing like a, let's say an arena game with you and we start at 15 yards, I will just have a crossbow and then I will shoot you and you cannot parry that and you're too far away to do anything about it. So I'm just going to wait. I'm going to aim, shoot you as you're closing. That's going to be bad because here's the thing about you. If I hit you, because your dodge isn't very good, if I hit you, you have so little hit points, so little health, you just might be down right there. Like I just might kill you even before you get to me. Let's say, for example, however, that we get to close because, like, I drop the crossbow, I take out a weapon. What weapon do I pick up? I've got a couple options. One, I pick a spear. Your short sword has a reach of 1, my spear has a reach of 3. I just stay at distance. I make it so that you cannot close with me by always attacking at 2, then stepping back. And the only way you can close is by doing a wild swing, which captures skill at 9, in which case, your skill of 25 doesn't matter at all. And since also I've spent points to making my speed higher, I'm going before you, which means you're not going to have a chance to hit me in the eye because I'm going before you. And I just need to hit you once and you're kind of screwed. And also, but you might think, oh, but I've got this great parry. And it's like, cool, 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 cool. Okay, but see, there's this rule in GURPS which says any time you try to parry a weapon that is more than 3 times the weight of yours, it has a chance to break. And that you cannot parry any weapon, like any chance to parry an attack where the weapon is more than your basic lift automatically fails and might still also break your weapon. And a short sword, which is also one of the only things you can afford because you didn't spend money on anything else, is only 2 pounds, which means a Morning Star will potentially break, a Morning Star and any halberd will potentially break your short sword, which means you may not want to parry, which means you have no good defenses. But also, if I have a shield, that is more than your basic lift because you did not buy up strength, which means I can just start shield bashing you and you cannot parry me because you have not spent any points on anything else at all. Right? Spear versus short sword gives visions of Ricky's hand and Lucy's forehead. Yes, that's exactly what it is, right? Spears are better than swords. They've always been better than swords. The only reason spears stopped being the ultimate battlefield weapon was because we invented crossbows and guns, right? It was like, so I just actually dispute you that it, and I said, and to do the things that I want to do that will just very easily negate you, all I need to do, I mean, I cannot spend all my points in one skill. I need either spear and shield, or I'm going to need crossbow and spear. I could also just use a net. Like there's so many different ways in which this person you're thinking of is just not a good combat build at all. Also, I can use mobility. I can use like it is easy. Like yeah, not, and also I just need to make my defense roll. Like you might go for my eyes, but if I defend, then you don't go through. And because you're going for the eyes, which is -9, you have no wiggle room to try to do a deceptive attack or any other kind of interesting tactics. You're just going for eye, and I'm going to just destroy that character. So it's not true that it is more, it's just more, it makes more sense in world just to do that. And then he says, well, but that's only because you know the system better than I do. And I'm sure that if you played Johnny one skill, you would still beat me if I played the well-rounded character. And I was like, I mean, my job as a GM is to help the players get to know the system and be better. Like I'm not, like we're not having a hostile situation here, right? And this is where he said this thing that I realized what's really going on. He said, my point here is that point buy systems fundamentally don't work because they a hobby skill that you never use costs the same as a combat skill. And so maybe that life path system that you talked about, which I did as a snarkiness, might work, but basically it never, like point buy systems fundamentally don't work. I was like, oh, I see what this is about. This is actually not about combat effectiveness at all. It's about the fact that you just don't like point buy systems. Oh, I see. And Also, having skill of 20 is actually not uninteresting. You can have very interesting combats with skill of 20. Um, yeah. And skills and GURPS don't all cost this game, or do they? Well, I mean, in the sense that, I mean, well, here's the thing. They're based on difficulty, right? So, um, like an easy skill is easier to get higher levels than a very hard skill, but there are very hard skills that are not combat skills. And actually, a lot of them aren't combat skills, right? So, I mean, he would argue that why would you ever, and for me, this is just self-correcting. Like I just have never had these problems, partially because it's self-correcting. And his point being like that hobby skill makes no sense. And I was like, but if you're playing in a game where nothing but combat skills make sense, then your players will only buy combat skills, and then it's not a problem, right? Point by Sims have a strong policy of giving the system, Mustache, but I think all of them do. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of think that, like, I mean, or alternately, right? Yeah, like most very hard skills are like hard sciences and high training professionals. Yeah, but I just don't think of this as being a problem because this is self-correcting. If you're in a game where nothing matters than combat skills, then people will not buy things other than combat skills, and then everybody's happy because nobody feels like what they're doing is pointless because that's what the game is. But if I'm running you through a game that is a regular campaign, first off, I'm gonna have a conversation with you about like how you can't be a realistic person in this game world with only one skill, so you need to fix that. But also, if somebody really, which I wouldn't have these people, but if somebody really insists on having only one skill, which would be a problem because I need a backstory that justifies you having only one skill ever, which how does that work realistically? But let's say you did, you would not do well in that campaign because in that campaign, you have to do things other than use your short sword because you're not going to be spending 24 and like that like so many games I've run, their hobby skills were important, right? Because you have them, you can use them. And also something doesn't have to be important every single session to matter. Um, like, I mean, I'm a bit more of an RPer where I will take things that may maybe never come up, but like things that are not your main skills, they certainly do come up. And if the minute you have a game that has more than one mode of engagement, those things will also be important. Yeah. Now, how are we defining point buy? Is World of Darkness character generation point buy? I think it is point buy, right? Yeah. So that's why session 0 is important, so you can check the players and the GM what will be the focus of the game. And I have to say, when I run GURPS, because GURPS is a universal system, I always go through character creation with the players. We have a conversation together. I'm like, okay, what kind of character do you want to make and what is this like? Because I want to make sure that the character does what the player is imagining that they can do. Pre V5, it certainly is, yeah. Even, yeah, BRP is a point buy system. But even V5 is still a point buy system, right? And in some ways, it's actually more of a point buy system because but V5 is more point buy than the earlier versions because now you have a lot more flexibility about what kinds of things you can buy, as opposed to before when you were locked. It was a bit more locked, right? Like if you were a Giovanni, only certain clans can get this, and there was like, but they've consolidated so much, so you have a lot more flexibility. Yeah, yes, so I just, I just don't, I just don't, and ooh, yeah. So I realized that what I thought was what it seemed to be about a conversation about like how one skilled Johnnies are better than well-rounded characters in game, and so making anything other than a one-skilled Johnny is metagaming. What this really was is, and that is why point buy systems are bad. And his whole point really is that point buy systems are bad and they do not work. And I was like, yeah, I just don't think that's true, actually. I mean, that's just not my experience. Maybe how you play, I guess, but like that is just not my experience. I like point buy systems because it's easier to make characters that don't fit a predefined archetype. And look, I understand that many people do not like point buy because it takes longer to make the character, right? I mean, and that is also, even in many ways, even Fate is a point buy system. Anyhow, I mean, it kind of fools it, but like it basically is, more or less. Um, you can also destroy your character before playing. Um, yeah, but you know what's interesting about that though, Muselch? That Simon Wandering DM talks about this, and he says that D&D 3.5 built in bad feats on purpose that were not good. And I will tell you, as a person who played quite a bit of 3.5 and did not enjoy it, but I could do it. There is just as much of a possibility of creating a character that will not work for a highly optimized combat campaign in D&D 3.5 as it is to make a broken character in a point-buy system. As a matter of fact, my fellow players kept pressing me not to take the feats that I wanted to take for my character. I was like, oh, I want to be like a Thieves Guild leader for this character. And they're like, Thieves Guild is not a good prestige class. It doesn't add to your DPS. And I was like, yeah, but that's what the character, like, I think that's, I would have like, you know, like a bunch of thieves, right? And they're like, no, you need to be master thrower. And I was like, oh, so like you absolutely, if you were going hardcore combat, min-maxed optimized in 3.5, you absolutely could make a broken character before you even started. As a matter of fact, you could make a character that could never get to the prestige class that you wanted because you didn't realize that at the first level you need to take this one feat, and now you're at 13th level and you're screwed over forever, right? Like like you can always make a broken character in any system, but I've always felt like the point of the GM is to help the players not do that. Like that's what our job is. That if the player says, I want to make the world's best swordsman, the GM's job is to say, oh, we're playing D&D first level. You can't be the world's best swordsman at first level. Doesn't actually make sense. You're like, scale back the concept. Or if you're like, I want to be this thing, and then they don't do the things that will make that work in this system, whichever that system may be, you should probably tell them, right? That, like, because it's collaborative, you're trying to help, you know? Yeah. There is no argument, Tripper. I'm not fond of 3.5 Pathfinder. I mean, but of course, if you know the system really well, you can do it. But like, yeah. If a player destroyed their character in character generation, the GM probably should have set better expectations in session 0 or better tailed the campaign to the characters they want to play. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're working on a 2E campaign, Grumbleskin? I'm thinking about a 1E campaign. And also there's a thing that like, Rissa does this, Bill has done it, I will often do it in point buy systems. In other systems, it's a little bit more difficult to do it, but in a point buy system, that first session or two, like I'm a bit, what's the word, flexible on fixing errors, right? So like if you are playing a character and you make that character and there's an oversight that you catch in the first session or two, I'm fine, switch that up. So for example, you're like, oh, I want to play a super spy. Oh wait, I didn't take any languages. Oh no, right? I need to get some language. And you're like, okay, adjust it so you can get languages. But part of my job as a GM is to look over the character sheet and be like, oh, hey, it seems that you want to do this, but in order to do this, you actually need more endurance or whatever the thing is. And they can be like, oh, thanks, right? Like my job is to help. It's not like, sure, it's session 0 is about setting expectations, but it's also helping people realize what they want to do. Both, right? Like, I want you to realize that you cannot make a first level character who's killed 14 adult red dragons. That is just impossible. That's not a good, you got to come up with a different backstory or something. Like, what happened? Were you like a high level character who then somehow got turned into a first level character? Because that backstory is not working right now. Like, you got to set those expectations, but also if they do have a concept, they say, I really want to play a magic user who deals damage through weapons. I'm like, okay, so let me see, here's how I can help you achieve what you're looking for, right? Like, it's because like, it's not hostile. Like we are supposed to be friends with each other. You know, you were gonna map Grumbleton. Oh, nice. Oh man, in my Ars Magica game, we actually had. Oh no, I didn't take languages come up with my game. The Magic got asked to go check in on an earthquake in Cyprus, and the group they sent to check it out didn't speak Greek. Oops. And I think for me, one of the things, because I tend to play for long campaigns. Short campaigns are different, right? But for long campaigns, because I tend to operate in a character-centric way, like a character simulationist way. Milsuch says, I remember the grimdark 90s, when my vampire DM, sorry, storyteller, I see you. You make me laugh, insisted not to make an effective character. So no good fighters, for instance, just to bring us in a situation where you would need a good fighter. No. So there's something that he was saying that has a kernel of truth, but he was using that kernel of truth to make a different argument. Rissa says, especially if you have a player unfamiliar with the system and you have the expertise, that's your job as a GM. Better to fix things early than have everybody miserable because something isn't working. Like, why wouldn't you help them out? I just don't get that. But Milsel, see, this thing that you're talking about, the Grimdark, I'm not a person who thinks that you should never make an optimized character. First off, it depends on the playstyle. If you're all playing Gamist where everybody's a min-max optimizer, then everybody has to do that. That's just what it is. But if you're playing in a more simulationist space, that doesn't mean you can't be optimized. But it does mean that you need to be playing a character where it would make sense for them to be optimized, right? So like if you are playing a person who is a boxer, a professional boxer, well, then they've spent their whole life being a professional boxer and they're going to be very good at boxing. They should be really good at boxing, especially if they're like a world champion. But that doesn't mean they only have the boxing skill. They probably also have performance and, I don't know, tactics. They probably have a whole lot of endurance. They probably have like running. They have a bunch of skills other than just that one skill boxing, right? Right? But of course, somebody who's a boxer or special forces or an actor who's spent their whole life becoming an expert in something is going to be really good at that thing, and that is just a normal thing to do. It makes no sense to say make a character who's like the best at this in the world, but you can't be skilled in it. That makes no sense at all, and I dislike that. Yeah, I'm not an optimizer, but I want to play a character who is competent. Right. Yes. Unless I'm playing a character who's incompetent, that's fine. But if the concept is that you're competent, which does exist in the real world, there are people who are competent at their jobs, then you should make a character who is competent, and the GM should not stop you from doing so, because that is just like, that's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. And effective does not necessarily equal optimized, and that is also true, right? That is also true, which was part of my point. And I think that sometimes people misunderstand optimization. I mean, for me, I see a lot of people who talk about optimizing, but what they think is optimized is actually maybe not optimal, right? For example, his idea is the most optimal fighter has only one combat skill and has got like a 30 in it when your max effective skill is 16. So you're doubling, like, I was like, yeah, that's not actually optimized at all, right? That's not the most optimal way of making that character. That's, like, I'm not saying make an ineffective character. I'm saying that actually is not effective. That's not a good way to do it, right? You know what I mean? And I also think that there's the flip side of this is that there are a lot of people on the GURPS forums who think you should never spend a lot of points and skills at all. You should always just get your underlying attributes as high as possible. Like, you want to have the highest dex and an int that you can have, and then just spend 1 point and everything else, and that's the most optimal thing. And I was like, well, unless you have to float skills to other attributes, then actually you're screwed, right? Because having only 1 point in a bunch of dex skills means you have no experience in them, and the minute you need to float that short sword to intelligence or to health, you're not going to be very good at it anymore, right? So like, basically you have to, like, for me, it's like, okay, what is the concept of the character? And then how do you represent that concept? And then you do that thing. And if the concept involves being competent, you figure out how competence looks and how it works and what it looks like. And then you do that. And the GM should be helping you and not trying to sabotage you, because that's weird. But also, realism does not mean miserable. Bopek says, hello. Hey, what's up? Up is the sky. Maybe some birds. And, I mean, what are you doing? Oh, at lunchtime, I'm going to fish with friends. So I'm practice fishing now. So I can be good. Lunchtime is friend time. Now is practice. Okay, well, interesting. Like, I just feel like, what are you doing? I think I have to go to Moray's to get these seeds. Side note. Whoop. Hi, chickens. Look at all these chickens. They do not look mutated, though. Hello. We're gonna go and visit Moray, see if we can get some seeds. also, I want to see what you're saying. Harsh hum. I've learned a new melody. I will ask about the song. Whoa! What's that? Oh? That was one of the old songs. From before even my living memory. They're like folk melodies, I suppose you'd say. I don't know, that one always comes... Let's make her French. I don't know, that one always seems to come out when things feel on edge. Ish. It's like vaguely European, but in a slightly different way. But enough of that. How's Nonno today? He went to the bathhouse, actually. Oh, my goodness. Well, how wonderful. I will ask about the Koroka seeds. Actually, I need to grow some Koroka. Oh, for Aylin's wonderful bath oils, no doubt. It doesn't grow in my garden, but I'm sure I've got some seeds in my store. I need to finish up here, but just you come back at lunchtime and I'll dig them out. In the meantime, why don't you go keep Tung company? He's messing around with that boat again. I'll see you later, sweetie. Everybody wants me to come back at lunch. I'm being denied access to cool things. That's all. It's fine. It's fine. I see you, game, wanting me to do certain things, however I feel about it. But since we're on the way, I'm just going to check out some of these other things and see what's going on. Oh. It looks like nothing is happening here. I wonder if I'll ever be able to go upstairs. It's not going to get what I want. I'm going to read chat. And protest. Oh, hey, there are people that I can talk to. Hey, Claire. Hey, I'm ready to open up. If you're after, I'm nearly ready to open. If you're after anything. Oh, that's Claire. Sorry. Claire is like, what is her voice? Her voice is like, she's like, oh, she liked to cry. She was friendly. I need a new voice for her because I don't know what she's like. Hey, I'm nearly ready to open. If you're after anything. Sorry. I'm nearly finished stock checking. If there's anything you need for the bar today, or I'm sorry. I'm such an early bird. I figured it takes a while for others to wake up. You haven't even swum yet. Or had any coffee. And you go to bed so late, too. I'm so sorry. Yeah, just because I'm not fit to answer doesn't mean I don't like to listen, huh? Yeah, you say sorry too much anyhow. Oh, maybe she should be Canadian. We'll make her Canadian. We'll see. Ah, despite all your perkiness, you don't know what to say now, do you? I don't apologize. We'll keep her British. And that's the spirit. Yeah, here we go. Oh, wait, wait. Oh, naked. Oh, belly flop. I'm sorry. Well, that's interesting. I am going to not go talk to Tung as I'm supposed to. Instead, I am going to see if I can just, see what I can see, and then I'm going to check chat. Huh. Growl must be gone for like half the week, I guess. Ooh. We're getting some seeds. This is nice. See, I just think that we can do a little bit of like a once around this part of the island before we talk to Tung. And then also we might be able to... I don't know. I still want to see the other half of the island. There's like so many people I want to talk to and see what they're up to. But, the game wants me to do stuff, I guess. But I do what I want. Nobody's the boss of me. I did see a beach garden. I don't think I have a mandate for the beach garden, so I don't want to plant yet, because I have a feeling that we'll need to come back here and plant in this garden just this afternoon, is what I'm thinking. So let me catch up on chat. But it depends on the system. A game like the World of Darkness, where there's one skill for all melee weapons, or GURPS, you have to learn them every weapon separately. Yeah, that is true, Selch. Although I like that guy already, but maybe it was the voice you gave him. Yeah, no, that was a yeah. I remember his voice. I remember because I was like, oh, he's Spike. Yeah, he's Spike. Yeah. Hey, congratulations on the work being done. You know what's interesting, Milsesh, that this is like what you're noting is really like a question of granularity. And one thing I will note about GURPS is that many of those skills, unlike some games, many of those skills, like all the skills have a default. So you can be good at multiple weapons, even if you don't have multiple weapon skills. But also, quite a few of those skills default to each other, even default to each other. So if you have like that person who's got like a 30 in short sword is also going to be very, very good at broadsword, like all the swords. He's gonna be really good at all the swords because those swords usually default to each other, like just a -2. So if you have like a 30 short sword, you also have like a 28 broadsword. You just are not gonna have shield, which you maybe also should think about having if you have no strength. That's what I'm saying. Well, I'm here. I'll talk to him. Oh, by the way, hey, Werewolf Feels, how are you? I've been thinking about you. Not just because I did Werewolf versus Vampire on Praxis channel, not just for that, for other reasons. By the way, we are going to do our giveaway. So in the next 5 minutes, just make sure you say something, and then you will be in the giveaway. And what are we giving away? It's a good question. Something that will expire, but I don't know what. I feel like let's see. I'm gonna say we will do. What's this over here? Let's see what's over here. Right. We'll do. When did we even do that? I'm gonna say. What's happening here? We'll do Tales and Tactics, which is an adventure strategy adventure RPG, and we will do Roguehammer 40K because that's what we're doing this week in Roleplay Reflect. So Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, and then that other one. That's what we're going to do today for our giveaway. We'll do it in like 5 minutes. That's what we're going to do. You've been thinking about Detroit World of Darkness? What was the name of that elderly Bruja that should have been Prince? Oh, that's a good question. I remember him. I've got to look at my... Oh, I liked him quite a lot. I can't remember his name now. I liked him. He was good. Roscoe. That's what his name. His name was Roscoe, I think. Yeah. I really enjoyed that that mini-series. I really did quite a lot. I need to GM some more World of Darkness, but not now. Later. You know? Later. By the way, Trooper is nice werewolf play. Oh, thank you. I had high gnosis, so I was able to control my rage. And I was thinking that, like, my thought was that this is a person who is Children of Gaia Everett. Like, I'll tell you that character was combat optimized. He would have been a real problem if he got to a fight with people because he was very dangerous. But he was not. But like the I use the Iskaku skill, which is their staff skill, which is basically lets you take people out non-violently. Well, I mean, it's violent, but non-lethally. A lot of like non-lethal combat stuff. He was very, very dangerous. But I always thought of him. I was like, okay, Children of Gaia. They're like they believe in like peace through. I mean, they're okay with violence, right? But trying to take people out in these different ways. So it's like, okay, so this is a person who I think has got the potential for great violence, but tries to keep that subtle. And then if it comes down to it, then it's a problem. You know what I mean? Then like he's like, don't get me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Like, let's keep it chill. But then, yeah, Rogue Trader's great. I just got it on the good old game sale. Drink very much. Nice. Hello, werewolf. I've been thinking of you too. I'm doing good. Just got the furnace fixed and such. They believe in peace through pacification. But also there was some other stuff that was going on in that game that none of you saw, and it didn't come out, but Pope and I talked about it, which is that both Pope's character and I, we had an agenda, we had a purpose, and that was, so both of our characters were not from New York City originally. Like my character had been there for like 16, 17 years, and Pope's character had been there for 10 years. We came in from outside because werewolves and vampires playing nice together under the condition that the werewolves pledge fealty to the vampire, not cool actually. And that the Sept leader has been Sept leader since post-World War II, also not cool. So we were there because we thought that this peace between the werewolves and the vampires was sketchy AF. Super sus. We thought there was badness going on, and like what we're doing is, we weren't there to destroy the peace. We were there to gather information, find out if the head werewolf was actually an abomination of some sort. And then when we get enough info, come back, because, you know, it's not like we were like, I love vampires. We're like, this seems bad. We're going to gather as much intel as we can, and then take it back to our people and find out what they think about it. Like, so like, we were not necessarily like, I love the vampires, let's be best friends. It was more like, this seems like some worm-tainted business right here. Worm-sided, Weaver-sided, seems bad. So yeah, but you know, gotta find out what's happening. Nobody wants the war, especially if you're not prepared for it, especially if you don't know, right? If there's been this peace for 150 years where all these werewolves that live in New York City just pledge their fealty to this werewolf, this vampire queen, we don't know what's going on. Like, why is this happening? Why has this been so consistent over the last 150 years? Is there weird magic? Like, what is happening? You don't want to go to war if they have some kind of weird, I don't know, werewolf mind control device or something. I have no idea what's going on, right? So we were like, we need to figure out what's happening. We're not going to just like provoke a war if we don't know what's happening, right? So yeah, let's play ball for the moment. Yeah, a werewolf that doesn't die in combat actually probably should live to a very ripe old mortal age. He's super old. He's super old, and he does not look like he's aged since World War II. So we have some questions. You know what I'm saying to you? We have some questions about what is happening here. So, you know, we're just like, you don't want to go half-cocked. You want to find out what's happening. But also, what we'd heard was that they had something called a Justicar. The leeches had a Justicar that came in and just killed a whole bunch of vampires. We're like, what's happening here? Let's find out. Maybe he's a werepire. Yeah, it's a bit more sus, right? Also, like, nobody knows what his clan is, what his tribe is, pardon me. Like, nobody knows what his clan is, his tribe is, and he never says. And we're like, what's going on? Like, what is this? What's happening, right? You know what I mean? And then you can't find out through the spirit realm. And so there's like a, you know, so we had some questions. So we wanted to go and play along, play ball, but we also, character-wise, we were like, we need to find out what's happening. So, but we also knew as players that we weren't going to be able to do that in the game since it's just a two-shot. But in terms of motivation, the reason why we didn't like werewolf out on all of them is because this felt like, they want to make it our problem so they can justify what badness. Like, there's just stuff going on that we don't know what it is, and we don't like it, and we want to find out what's happening, right? So that was kind of like there's no need to go and just like provoke a war when there are all sorts of suspicious pieces that we don't know what they are. Like, maybe, like, you know, like a 120-year-old werewolf shouldn't be like, oh my God, something's weird here, but they should look 120. Yeah. An undercover Black Sprout dance. I mean, even Black Sprout dancers follow werewolf rules. They're not cool with becoming abominations. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it was very, very weird. And doesn't look good, right? So we were just, but so for me, I think that there was like a way in which the presentation was a lot more chill than what was behind the scenes. Like, I think that my werewolf was not cool with a lot of what was going on, but you had to present yourself this way when, I mean, like both, like Pope's werewolf and my werewolf were like, this is probably an ambush. Like, this is probably a trap. We're going to find out what's going on, right? Like, what is happening here? So yeah, you know what I mean? Like don't let yourself be baited by them. Let's figure out, because they've been, anyway, it was really fun. I had a great time. And we're going to do our giveaway now. And our first giveaway is going to be Tales and Tactics, which is a strategy adventure RPG. Basically, werewolves are half spirits, and to become an abomination, the spirit half has to die. Ooh, Krellin, that's terrible. I mean, I don't mean terrible like, I mean scary, you know what I mean? Question, Krellin, and anybody else who's big on werewolf lore. What do you think about the changes of the game from like World of Darkness 20 to like Werewolf 20 to Werewolf 5e? How do you feel about it? I was talking to Simon, and Simon says he thought there were some things they could have done better, but he thought that generally speaking, that the changes were good and he quite liked them. And I just kind of want to know what you all think about what they've done to the werewolf with the 5th edition. Yes, that's what I think. Also, Simon and I fixed some of the mechanical things we thought were a little bit weird with V5, what late at night at 3 o'clock in the morning once. But that's fun. Let's see. Yeah, but that's why even BSD won't do it, because they have to die basically. Oh yeah, that's no fun. Also, Muselch, you have won Tales and Tactics. May I give you the code for that? Gratulierung. Why W5 lore is so much better, and I'm not just saying that because Werewolf Fields is here. Yeah, I mean, I think that there were some, let's say, problematic things in the pre-werewolf stuff that I think were probably fixed, and I think that is good. Yay, Musach, I'm going to send you a message right now with this code. I'm sending you a Steam code, Musach. And let me know if it works, because if it doesn't, I can fix it. And then we're going to do Rogue Trader. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. We're going to do that right now in celebration of Roleplay Reflect coming up. Let's see. Who will be our winner? Chicken dinner. Preemptively opting out of the next giveaway as I already have it. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, Usach. That's not how you spell winner. That's how you spell Aina. So, Krellin, Nightbot just heard you say that you did not want it, so now Nightbot is messing with you. That is how that works. Milsach got this, so we're gonna go again. We're gonna just hit one more. We're gonna get somebody. Werewolf Fields. Do you have Rogue Trader, Werewolf? Werewolf, do you have Rogue Trader? Because if you don't, I'm going to give it to you. You'll have to let me know, because I want to give it to him. That's all. I'm gonna get him. He's probably doing a little bit of a lurk, but it's okay. I'm gonna get him here. And why does this happen like this? I know why it does. Let me move this here to fix that. Whoop! Nope. There. Here. Perfect. Whoop. Okay. Whoop, but Gangnam Style. Bump, 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 bump. Werewolf. Giveaway. Key for Rogue Trader. Boom. Done. Done and done. So, was thinking about something. And it's about RPGs. And what's thought of as normal play. And this person that I was talking with thinks that a normal amount of combat in a game is at least one deadly fight every week, like every session. And I've been in games where that happens. I've also been in games that, but see, I don't think of that as regular combat. I think of that as high combat. For me, a deadly combat every session is a high combat game. Like if you're doing combats, at least one every session, for me, that's a high combat game. This is, by the way, when I say high combat, I don't mean that as bad. Like that is not a judgment of bad or good. It's just like, if you're doing it every session, that's high combat, right? But I really do miss Kinfolk. Ooh, it gave Werewolf another layer. Ooh. Are they missing from W5, Kinfolk? Are they? Oh. I would think, like for me, the problem with Kinfolk is that it's really hard to include them without having the eugenics part of the old werewolf lore. Oh. Drummer Boy says, I guess it depends on how long your sessions are. No, that's true. I guess that's true. I'm thinking of like an average of like 3 to 4 hours. If you have like one combat every 3 to 4 hours, like basically if there's a combat every session, I kind of feel like that's a high combat game. And I would imagine, like, I don't know what average combat is. Maybe every other, maybe? On the other hand, the way it is now, you can add family drama if you combine it with Hunter. Ooh. Like, I don't know what would be considered medium combat. Yeah, like Cat 3 isn't hereditary anymore, so there's really no place for Kinfolk anymore. Oh, interesting. Oh. But they do have touchstones, right? So, I don't know. So, if, like, a relative of the werewolf is Hunter, oh, that would be very good. So, here's my question for you. I want your all thoughts. If you buy my idea, that high combat would be at least one combat every session. Also, that there's no judgment. It's not bad or good, just is what it is. If you accept that that's like the bottom threshold for high combat, what would you consider low combat and medium combat? Because low is not no. If you have no combat, then that's a no combat game, right? And I would say, like, so what is the threshold for low combat? Yeah, werewolves still have a family. Before their first change, they were still just normal humans, or rarely wolves. Do they still have the other ones, the middle ones? The Krynos ones? The ones? The middle ones? You know what I'm talking about. Oh. You're painting it already? Yep. Oh, I fixed those. Sanded it down. This paint has some kind of sealant in it. Dennis gave me. It's a great color. Oh, well, I'm glad you think so. Well, I don't know if they go. Anyway, taking shape, right? Oh. Better than moving boxes around anyway. You always said if I ever got my act together on this, we should take it for a test ride. Can that be a test sail? Actually, I was thinking, tomorrow? Just a short trip or, whatever. Would you like to come? That would be so cool. Right, we'll leave at dawn from the harbour. I know it's early, but the currents are the stillest, Van. It's gonna be really great. Just you wait. I'll hang out just a little bit longer. Mum and Maury are worried I'm gonna sail away in this thing. Is that the plan? It's definitely not, open sea worry. Do you want to, though? My dad. I don't know. Maybe they think I inherited running away. There's not much for me here, but why would there be anything anywhere else? I'll talk about my dad, because I don't know much about my dad. You know, my dad died a couple of years ago. He was a pilot. There was an accident or whatever. Maybe it was different because I was older. But it was just me, my mom, and this tiny baby, you know? Being left behind sucks. Dennis said I need to be more positive. He said fixing things always makes him feel useful. I guess I do have a pretty cool boat now. Ooh. Midday for me. You know what this means? This means I get to go have some conversations with folks, which will be nice. And I get to look at chat, see what everybody's up to, what they're saying. Okay. I'm just, look, I'm gonna just, walk out to the left to see if anything has changed out this way while I also look at chat. Let's see. Yeah, werewolves still have a family, right? 1 or 2 combats per campaign would be low. Or like 1 a story in the World of Darkness. Metis, thank you. Oh, they don't have Metis anymore? Oh, that's interesting. I was beginning to worry a little bit about you. 2 werewolves mating is no longer forbidden. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, werewolf, you did win. You won the Rogue Trader, and I dropped you a link. You won. Boop. Okay, so Metis don't exist anymore. Interesting. I haven't seen you forever. It feels like just worried. No. I am here. I am not dead. Anyway, how are you, Max Ryder? It has been a while. I was like, why? It's been so sad. But I'm back and I've missed you all. Like, you know, I mean, I've been here. I just streamed just only a couple days ago, but it's different. You know what I'm saying? And so it's lovely to be back here, hanging out in Mutazione, talking about my dead dad, the pilot. Pilot. Ooh. Thanks. I've seen it. Woo! I'm so glad you don't already have it, werewolf. Thank you so much. You left for 2 seconds and you win. This is what happens. Oh, Max, I get you. To be honest, I don't miss the metas. I think they didn't add much to the world anyway. I know I've seen and shared some of your blue sky decks. Thank you. But that's, I tend to worry. You know what, Max? I appreciate that. You know, I think that it's not bad to, like, have a, you know, like, worry to make sure your friends are okay. I shall now have to prepare a Witcher game. Ooh, okay, I will see you at the Witcher. I'll probably raid in. Good night, werewolf. So, right, you had, like, what, the Homid, Lupine, and then the Metis, right? And, Homids are human people who are born humans, I guess. That's their base form. Human pairings, and Lupine are wolf pairings, I guess. And then Metis are werewolf pairings. Except they've got rid of them. Have they changed the core lore of what a werewolf is between W20 and W5? And if so, how? Kai, I went to see Aylin about fitting me in today, and I couldn't believe it. You must be so happy. I'll be silly. Did Grandpa tell you I got scared by a tiny bug or something this morning? Because it was the size of an actual horse. Goodness. No wonder the bathhouse was your first thought. Now, what was that I wanted to... Oh, yes. Aylin said you're going to fix up that sad bit of land by the lighthouse. I've got some seeds in my stocks that might help. Oh, I just got some astral ragwort seeds. Oh, hey. Actually, the spotted kunga is really rare. Okay. Paper. No, I don't have a lot of free space on this. We're going to write down what we got. The astral ragwort. Astral ragwort. I'm not writing in a way that I'll be able to read this later. Stone flower. And spotted kunga. Kunga, that's rare. And we're looking at the karoka. Okay. I took a note so I don't forget. Metis, werewolf on werewolf action. Yes, so werewolves are still half spirit, half flesh, but it's no longer a hereditary trait that makes one such. The lore doesn't have any definitive answer on what makes one a werewolf. The wolves themselves don't really know, though. Though they can detect people with the potential to change. So, back in the day, talking to werewolf players, because I'd never played werewolf back in the day. I had werewolves in vampire games that I was in, but I hadn't played werewolf. I was talking to werewolf players, and I was like, so all of the World of Darkness games have some kind of, like, negative thing, right? Some kind of thing that will, like, screw you over. In Vampire, it's humanity. Mage, it's paradox. Changeling, it's banality, right? Like, they all have something, right? And I was like, so is rage that thing for werewolves? And they're like, no, rage is great. And I was like, okay, so then what's your, like, downside? And they're like, none. And I was like, okay, but, like, if you turn into a werewolf, that's bad. Like, with Vampires the Masquerade, like, no, not really, because if we turn into a werewolf, humans just forget about it. I was like, okay, wait a minute. So you have no downside as a werewolf? Like, none? And they're like, no, it's just great being a werewolf. We get to go and, like, rage out, kill lots of bad guys like vampires. And I was like, oh, okay, weird. But I have gotten the sense that that is not the case. And first off, I don't know if those people were just not accurate in the way that they saw things. Like, for example, I had a really hard time believing that rage was not a problem, because wouldn't it be bad to have too much of it? But I have heard that W5, which I have W5, I just haven't read it, that W5 does actually make the Harano and the other one, like, it actually gives you something that you have to struggle with, which seems like would be more interesting. Ooh. Metis always felt like someone who didn't have a disability trying to include disability in an insensitive way. Yeah. That makes sense. The first werewolf game I played was Werewolf at a con. My character was a wolf who could change into man or man-wolf. So much fun. A bonar, that's one, right? Yes, it is. The trash collectors? Trash pickers? I can't remember what they called them. Was uncomfortable in a van we were in, and I said, just make it yours. I jumped off the seat, it was always in wolf form, to the floor and pissed, marking it good times. That's fun. Kron says, rage is that thing in werewolf because it controls you, it isolates you. Yeah. W5 included Harano and its opposite, Haglosk, into its actual mechanics. See, that's good. Because I imagine if you wanted to really RP it, you could really have a good time in the old werewolf with rage and all that. But a lot of people I knew that were playing werewolf back then were combat munchkins. I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's what they were. And so for them, rage was only a bonus because they're like, so we're isolated from people. They're the kind of people who played people who didn't like people anyway. You know, like the loner, right? So that was Interesting. I don't mind the problematic aspect of werewolves, but I never knew what to do with metis. Oh, interesting. You might like to save that one for a garden a bit more central. Oh, the kunga seed. Don't use. Don't use. Okay. Aelin couldn't fit me in until this afternoon. Can't wait. I've been feeling really drab recently. Of course, it's probably all in my head. I'm sure I just look as drab as I ever did. Oh, I think you're fine. I think I'm going to get one of Aelin's face masks, and then go for a nice refreshing drink in the bar this evening. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I do need to get those... Oh, hey, everybody's fishing. That's nice. That's nice. I should talk to them. I do also need to talk to Mori to get those seeds, but, you know. In pre-W5, Rage's isolation was a big deal because it made you separate from human society, and it was taboo to seek companionship among werewolves. In W5, Rage operates in a method somewhat similar to Blood Dice in V5. Oh, no such. Servus, have a good time. So, have a good evening. Go to sleep. See ya. Oh, interesting. Oh, so, okay. So, we were talking, Simon and I think we've come up with a thing. So, a lot of people don't like Blood Dice because they think they don't like the fact that you can just get all these, like, messy criticals and all of that. And then they're like, you just, like, basically turn into it, like, mindless too quickly. And I was like, well, I actually think, I mean, I really do like the Blood Dice. I like the Hunger Dice quite a lot. And for me, they're good. I also note that you don't have to get stains when you messy crit. That is an option, but not... Like, I think that you can... If the GM is mindful about the results of those messy criticals, you're not necessarily going to spiral down to death too quickly or to, you know, inhumanity. I think it's about just, like, not, like, being mindful of what you choose. But we still did have a discussion about this. And I think we came up with a solution for something that felt a little off about the Hunger Dice, and that is, this is our solution. We're giving it away for free. So remember in 2nd edition Vampire, before revised, the more dice you had, the more likely you were to botch. So I think you had to, if you just had, like, I think it was something like, if you had 2 botches or whatever it was, there are other possible results. It's absolutely right. But I think there was, like, the way that they did it was that if you had, like, more botches than 6, they did some kind of a thing where, like, it was actually really easy to botch, and, like, the more dice you had, the more likely you were to botch. And then they fixed it for revised, wherein I think if you had any successes at all, even if you failed the roll, then you didn't botch. They fixed it, right? So the thing we came up with was that it should only be a messy critical if you have more successes in your blood dice than you do in your non-blood dice. Right? So, and that would actually make it so that messy criticals are not as common. And also, if you keep your blood dice low, you're going to be fine, right? But then the more blood dice you have, the more the chances, like, I think it would actually sort of fix one of those kind of things that some people are having an issue with. Yeah. Also, willpower does try to help mitigate messy criticals. It does. Question about vampire. Can you play a Varney type vampire that is brought back to life by the moonlight, can walk around in the daylight, and feeds mainly after being injured? Oh, that's a good point. Thin blood? Yeah. Yes. I don't know if y'all are ready for this yarn. Will the yarn catch the fishes? A yarn's like a word for, like, a story. Will the story catch the fishes? Oh, unlikely. Hey, come on, it's unlikely either way. So, and this is a special one. So, special is good. Go on, then. I don't know if you're ready for it, though, eh? Just tell us, eh? The story. All right. So, Remember when Nonno used to lead these, meditation sessions? He'd get you nice and relaxed and guide you through your troubles. Well, once, I was sitting here after like a little meditative journey, and feeling, light as a feather, stiff as a board. And I was looking at the water's surface, yeah? And feeling woozy and, in a nice kind of way. Everything was all light relaxed, no, wrong voice. All light and relaxed, but also, completely clear, Anyway, stare at the reeds dancing away. Then, suddenly, under the surface of the water, redder, much redder than any reed could be. Hair. Beautiful red hair. Shut up. I swear, that's what I saw. Someone cut off their hair? Beautiful green eyes. No, dummy. Spike said he saw a mermaid. Not a dummy. Just for a second. And the flick of a tail. Those two. And the flick of a tail, she was gone. Shouldn't call people dummy. Just a perfect moment. It was just some red seaweed and a fish or something. It felt totally real. Real. It was real. Look what you did. Look what you did to Bo Peck. Just because you're too sad to see mermaids. Hey, shut up, Bo. Come on, guys, come on. Hey, look, I was just trying to liven things up a little. Sure. Everyone's got feelings right now. Fishing was supposed to be fun. Hey, it is, buddy. Look, beautiful sun and a cool water. See any redheads down there? Our peoples are having a little bit of stress in the town. Just a tiny bit. Maybe we can find Mori and get the seeds we need. That might be lovely. I'm still trying to get through Varney the Vampire and writing up extremely short summaries of every chapter. Oh, interesting. I love that little voice you do for the little guy. So much of that I'm sitting here just staring at feeding cats. Bopek. So Krellin, if you want to know, my thought for Bopek was, do you remember like Balky from Perfect Strangers? Right? Or like Balky from Perfect Strangers, or no, it's not Balky from Perfect Strangers. That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the guy from Taxi. You know the guy from Taxi. The guy from Taxi. Go give the cat some nutrition. Do it. You know, Latka. Yes, Max, thank you. Latka from Taxi. That's who I was thinking. I was trying to channel Latka. Because I kind of, yeah. Man, and the actor is, here I come to save the day. Andy Kaufman. Thank you, Max. Andy Kaufman. Who, yes. Andy Kaufman's character, yep. And he was like, I remember the whole things that when he died, people didn't believe he was dead. He did all the wrestling stuff, right? Yeah, he died young. And people thought that he was just joking about being dead, but he actually did die. Because he was such like a method actor type, you know? I never saw that movie, Man on the Moon, that what's-his-face was in? From Ace Ventura, and also, the Cable Guy, Ace Ventura, the Truman Show. Jim Carrey. Thank you very much, Max. His humor was the kind that Yeah, his humor, he was the kind that would fake his own death, right? And he also never like, he would often just not break character. Yeah. We're in 1984. Oh, that's pretty young, yeah. Jim Carrey's serious stuff is so good. It is really, really good. You're like, I can't believe I'm acting. I'm remembering actor's name, says Max. I'm so bad at it. But it's the moment. The Truman Show and Man in the Moon are both great. So I saw the Truman Show and I thought it was really, really good. So I should probably go and see Man in the Moon because I'd heard that this was like a really important film for him, that he really gave it his all, that he really worked at that one. So I bet it's really good. There you are. I was actually a little inspired when you came to ask me about seeds. Some are quite rare, but I've got whole sacks of the green claw. It's too bitter for us to eat, but when I was scrubbing out my pans this morning, I thought, oh, this fat's just being thrown away. Then it hit me, seed balls. Handy little feeders for the birds. Did you find the Karoka too? Oh, now. Not taking everything too seriously, I hope. If there was ever a thing Nonno needs a little more of, it would be restfulness. Here's what you came for. I got the Karoka seeds. And some gnome mushroom spore. Green claw seed. I do have some questions about this. I'm rushed off my feet today. I've not had the chance to even breathe. Have I missed something good? Anything good? I will talk about Nonno and Yoke. I think Nonno and Yoke are having a catch-up. Oh, it's so incredible. What you've done for him, you know? Believe it. Although I have to say it's very rude of him not to drop by. I'll be kind. I'm sure he can't wait to say hi. He just had to get clean first. I'll have to finish up lunch here, but as soon as I have a moment, I'll go out and find them. Maury, are you okay? Of course. It's just, I'm the youngest of the lot of us, you know? Not by much, mind. Always the third wheel, and I liked it that way. Those two thickest thieves, always finding a new thing to sulk about. And I'd be there to soothe the pride and laugh at the folly. Oh, ignore me. Chopping onions always gets me a little. Are you hungry, sweetie? I want to hear what's for lunch. Yeah, cool, yeah. Wonderful. Veggie or meat first? Meat. Nose hog and gelosa leaf stir fry with noodles. Crispy blue bugs goes particularly well as a topping. Want to hear the veggie option? Please. It's wall sprout stew. Very high in vitamins, but to be honest, no one ever seems to want wall sprout stew. So, can I make you something? I will get the stew. I'll risk the stew. Maybe a good idea after I gave my vitamin pills to Jella. Oh, lovely. Just a tick. Oh. I hate that he got typecasted back into comedy. Yeah. Andy Kaufman is his inspiration, why he started comedy acting. I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool. He method after that role, but in a way that was not creepy and problematic like Jared Leto does, or at least not as creepy. You know, like, I just feel like do what you want to do, but like, don't mess up other people. You know what I mean? Ooh, thanks. I just got some wall sprouts too. Here you are. If you see Nonno, tell him to wait for me to come out and say hello. Aww, that was lovely. Oof, these onions are really stinging my eyes. Well, I guess we leave. We have a garden to plant, and we have people to talk to. I feel like we should probably plant that garden, huh? I mean, the thing is, I do want to head out this direction and see what's happening, but you know what? We'll do it. We're going to go and plant the garden. We'll just walk up here a little bit first. Hello. So, why are we here? Market research? I just wanted some fresh air. But why does it have to be me? Why does what have to be you? Go on. Human girl. Good start. Very polite. We would like to talk to you about the exfoliating qualities of mud. Leave now. Well, you still have the chance. Okay, well, hey, look. They're hanging out. I want to just let them know about Mori before I go and plant that garden. That's what I want to say. Was he one of those method actors who thought it meant being in character all the time? Asks Mact. Carlin's like, yeah, that's what I mean, but not for every role. I'm talking about Jim Carrey. He became Eddie Kaufman for the duration of the role. He doesn't do it for every role. Huh. I think my thought was, like, if that's a useful part of your process, that's cool. Just don't mess up people. Max is like, that's not method. Method is just making what you do on stage real. You feel what your character feels, and you're genuine your emotions you represent on stage. Becoming the character for duration is just weird. I will note that Americans have not been doing Stanislavski's method from the very beginning. Like because he wrote 2 big volumes, we only translated the first one. The second volume was only translated more recently, and so it was always basically Strasberg's interpretation of one half of Stanislavski's method. So we've never really done the method. You know what I mean? Prax is like, if your method acting classes causes harm to other people in the scene, then you're not acting, you're being an asshole. This is correct. What are those living hot dogs? Hot dog princess? It is Max Ryder, it is unclear what they are. Things get very, very, it is very unclear what they are. This is an island of mutations, and I do not always know what is happening, what we're seeing. Because it doesn't look like it's just humans that were mutated. It looks like lots of things were mutated. Sorry to keep saying this, but it is such a joy. Such a joy. You haven't gotten rid of me yet, huh? But it is good to see you, old friend. I so wish to visit, but with all those steps. I know, don't think on it, chum. But now, I'm back at ground level. How about a rematch? Well, I'm sorry. Chess. The musical. I've been dying for a game. Can you get time away from that infernal archive of yours? You know, I've always time to beat you at chess. The chess set has been gathering dust. I thought I might be able to tempt Jella to learn a scientific mind like theirs. But, alas, how have you survived without me to keep your mind lively, eh? Well, I did attempt to set up a small book club, but only Claire was interested. We don't quite agree when it comes to literature. If I recall, she likes adventure and crime, eh? I tried to persuade her of some of the great romances, but she just didn't seem interested. Well, come on now. Let's get me one last victory before I shuffle off this mortal coil. Oh, no. That's how I'm going to keep you hanging on, in perpetual defeat. Yoke, indeed. Oh, that's... Well, now, aren't you supposed to be growing Koroko for Aelin? You work that girl too hard, you know. Not that she hasn't done you a world of good. I did not tell you about our little visitor this morning, did I? Never mind. They are still talking, and I still want to hear what they have to say, but I should probably, plant this garden. Yeah, check. Just a testing you, my friend. Just a testing, eh? Okay, it is a time for me... No. It's time for me to go build that garden. But I'm right here. I'm just going to go down in the pit, down deep in the heart of the island where things might be happening. I just want to say how they're doing. You know, say hi to my friends, and then I will plant the garden as we are, you know. Mutated hot dogs, mute dogs, hot mutes, dog mutes, hot dogkin. So here there's a big jello creature, this one here, who is not talking to me, so I guess we're going to go and plant our garden. So we need to plant this garden for Karoka seeds. And I don't quite... Well, we'll have to figure out what to plant. I'm really excited about planting a garden before we finish our stream. That will be good. Okay, lighthouse garden. There's a whole other set of the island on the other side we haven't been to. Oh, I was going to tell Musach something, but Musach is gone. I was just thinking about GURPS is a high granular system. I think it's medium crunch, scalable, but high granular. And I don't think granularity and crunch are necessarily the same thing, although I feel like sometimes it seems like that, but I don't think it's necessarily the same thing. So let's plant some seeds. We need to plant... Wait. Before we do... Cold finger! Wah wah! It's a plant with a spooky touch. A raspy touch. Butter, butter. Such a cold finger. Ba-da-da-da-da. Little seed, beware of the swamp within. No, don't go in. Coral weed. You know what? Just don't even, don't worry about me. So we're looking for, so this is harsh. It is scratches, and it goes on a wall. Let's put the Karoka seeds. You know, I kind of feel like it'll be fun to put them here. Needs more varied. Ooh. So, well, we can't. Let's plant some also here. Let's do 2 of them. And then let's see, we need more harsh sounds. Goldfinger is still the gold center for... Oh, it's so good. It is so good. Goldfinger is such a good song. Just for the record, if anybody wants to know it, let's get some astral ragwort, which lives in the sand. Let's put this here and here. And then we need more harsh. So the Boroboa is harsh and it needs to be on a tree. Let's put this here and here. Okay, and then that's spooky. We have the Karoka. Coral weed. It needs sand. Let's put... Ooh, that's fun. Let's put it here. And here. And we need more harsh. What will be interesting here? Let's see. We're looking for... Oh! Gnome mushrooms. We've got some of that. And they need sand. So let's put some gnome mushrooms here. I'm just doing 2 each. We're looking for... Okay. Graptopelatum is a wall thing, and it is also harsh. Let's, put one there. And then there. And then let's go with... We have any other good harsh plants? Silver laurel. It looks like we only have 1 of them. So we're going to plant this, Oh, here. Okay, and then, oh, red adder. We only have one of those, but it seems like a really good thing to have, so let's put that here. We're really gonna go and just make a harshness. Now, I imagine we could probably be more thoughtful about this. Stone flower. Let's put the stone flowers right there. And also right there. Nice. And then, oh, stone grass. Let's do a little bit of that. Let's put the stone grasses up here. That's exciting. Oh, oh, there. And then Wanderlust Pacific, Otherworldly Pacific. Okay, that's everything. It says we need more harsh plants, though. Really? Okay. Let's go back up to the top and see what... Apparently it needs more harsh plants. Well, we only have one astral wart. I want to keep at least one thing in reserve. So let's see. We only have one coracle left. I don't want to use it. Euphoria, Melancholy, Otherworldly. We only have one of those left. I'm a little worried. Okay, we have more no mushrooms. Let's put those places, I guess. We don't have a lot of space for them, to be honest. Okay. I don't know about you all. I just feel like I don't want to use up everything we have. Oop. Let's see. What else do we have that we can put in here? And like, I want to have at least one seed left. Hope I can. Well, we only have one. Okay, we can put more stone grass somewhere. Let's put stone grass here. Okay. Maybe what I need to do is let's do some growth songs. We want harsh because, oh, okay. We're going to play again. Because I think what we can probably do here is play it to get them growing a little bit more. And then we can listen to it and see what it sounds like. We'll do one more round of... Wow. Okay. One more? Okay, I think... Oh, hey, that plant was doing stuff. Okay, now, let's listen to it, shall we? I bet... Oh. I think we can probably build a much cooler song when we have more seeds of different things. Let's harvest this. Because I bet that if we have, like, I want more of those trees. Those trees are kind of cool. Yeah, I think if we had more seeds, we could really start being very intentional about how we're building our garden. But we are getting those seeds right now. Oops. And we will build, like, I think I want more of those trees, I think. There we go. So this is blips. Like, I bet we could build something really cool with a bit more... Like, those crumples, I like it. Man. Golly, there's only one of them? It's rough. So those trees are a little bit more rare, but I want more of them. We're harvesting everything, everybody, by the way. So all of... Yeah, I want more of those trees. What do you think about this song? Our harsh song. I think I want more percussion in here. I mean, clearly not at the moment, but eventually. You know what I mean. Did we actually get enough Koroka? Like, we only have one swamp plant. And I would like more swamp plants. I feel like we haven't... There's the Koroka. Okay. Okay. That's good. I think a question I would have to ask myself at this moment is, do we want to add more plants to this thing now, or wait? Do you know what I'm saying? We probably are going to have to, like, tend and salvage later, but at the moment, this seems good. Okay. General theme, I think. Let's see. Artie. Hey, Artie. I didn't think you streamed on Thursdays anymore. Kidding. Whew, last week was full. Hey, I gave a paper this morning at a conference, and I'm still here. This is going to be... I know this is going to be a full week, and I know we're going to get Heaven's Vault on Saturday. I know it, and I'm so excited. Artie says, Prex, I recently found out about the origin of the James Bond theme and was so very much not what I was expecting. Which one? Because there are two different themes. Which theme, Artie? The original before Barry? Because there are two different James Bond themes, right? There's the one that was the first one, then there's like two different ones. Which one? Oh, Prax says, which one are we talking about? The general theme with the gun or the specific theme for each movie? Oh, no, there are two general themes. There are two different general themes, actually, and then there's each specific one for each film. But there was an original James Bond theme. There are two different ones. Oh, golly. I teach a class in spy music, so I know I have them in a playlist somewhere. I've got to look it up, and then we can check. We will look it up right before. Let's go. Nice. And surprisingly, I learned about it from QI. Oh, QI is very good. I have not seen it in a while.
Name game.
Uh-oh. I have this feeling. I got this feeling. The feeling is that I think I need, I think what I might need is perhaps... Is it cowbell? No, it's not cowbell. That's not what it is. It's... Oh... It is, Oh, that's right. The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F. On and will appear. And then I say Bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Ger, bo, bear, banana, fanner, fo, fair, fee, fi, mo, mare. Ger, the name game. Woo! Thank you for that resub, Jer. Thanks to Demolition for my gift sub. Woo! And thank you for that gift sub. Yay! Yeah, the lyrics for the theme were originally about someone with an unlucky sneeze. Oh, well, cowbell's a fever. I have a fever for that, you know? Not the first I've been called a bear. So, hold on. Let's just go get our stream muted for a moment, shall we? Not, later in the VODs. Hey, VODs, it's going to be muted. I know it because that is how life is, but let me see if I can find this. Let me see. Past classes. I'm looking for, let's see, when was the last time I taught my spy class? I feel like it was a long time ago, actually. Oh, I don't think I've taught my spy class in well too long. It's because the problem is I actually haven't been able to do a lot of seminars because other people are doing seminars and I keep having to do other things, and it is what it is. That's 22 American music. This is International Jazz Age. Soul. Let's see. What is this? Smooth jazz. The voice. Okay, this is, no, that's 201. This is FM up. Pop music studies. No, Black Divas. What is this one? Nope. Where's my Spice class? Okay, this is, nope, that's rock and roll. Is this it? And that's Jazz Age. Oh, 60 Spies. Found it. Dang, yo. It might have been 10 years since I last taught that class. That is wild. Okay, so there are two different James Bond themes, right? And I'm going to play each one of them for you so you can hear the difference. I still have my SOE manual on your desk. No, I didn't teach the spy class last year in the fall. Last year in the fall, I was teaching history of African American music both here and at the prison. So I haven't taught the spy class in quite some time. Actually, it's really terrible. I think you're just adding to my playlist because I appreciate it. We watched The Court Jester tonight. This is a good one. The sword fight between Danny Kaye and Basil Rathbone. Mwah. Basil Rathbone was a very good fencer. A very good fencer. Am I allowed to play them? No, what will happen is that they'll get muted. That's what it is. Okay, so there are two different James Bond themes, and one is by John Barry, and one is by the guy before John Barry. And let me make sure you can hear this. Let's see. We're going to put you on this one because this one does not go to VOD. VODs will not hear it. So this is the James Bond theme, and the other one is 007. So this is the James Bond theme. Oh, I'm doing that right now. So in case you want to know, the way you do it right now, that I'm routing this sound through a particular channel that does not go to the VOD. So if people are watching the VOD right now, that sound will just not happen. So it will not, it's not going to come on the, it's not going to show up. Yeah, there's a way to do it that you can, in through OBS, there are 6 channels. OBS has 6 audio channels. I wish it had more because I actually need more. My life would be perfect if OBS allowed me to have, say I would want, right now I currently have channel 1 is everything, and that goes to stream. Channel 2 is everything except copyrighted music, and that goes to VOD. 3, I think, is me. No, I think 3 are all voices, and that goes to the closed captioning. 4 is 4, 5, 6. Basically, if I had my way, each individual person speaking, if I'm doing an RPG with 5 people, would have its own channel, but I also need like a dedicated 3 for closed captioning, VODs with no copyright sound, and then all sound for stream. So I would really want, like in an ideal world, OBS would go from having 6 audio channels to having, I could handle 8, but I would like 10. Monty Norman. Yes, Monty Norman is the other person. And I believe this is that one there's the Monty Norman theme. Let's see. Are the other ones for all the rest of the movies? What movies are you using? Okay, so I believe that's the Monty Norman version. That's the Monty Norman theme. And this one is the John Barry, the theme that he wrote, because Monty Norman only did the first music for the first movie, which was From Russia to Love, From Russia with Love. And he has, but then this is the one that John Barry wrote. So this is the John Barry 007 one is the one with a lot more strings, and you'll often notice it like, and there's another, like there's a melodic theme that you'll recognize a little bit easier, but that one comes up in the films quite often too, usually in slightly different contexts. But yeah. Thank you, 550. Kitty Seven Fish. The original song apparently had a different sound and vibe, which he later adapted to the James Bond theme that you played earlier. Yeah. And I think that was probably John Barry who did it, because that was no. And actually, I don't think Casino Royale was the first Bond film. I think it was in the middle between Connery and. Well, hold on. I think if I remember correctly, I think there was a really weird James Bond film that was not the Peter Cushing, because there's a Casino Royale that was sort of like a. There's like a Johnny Bond film, like an American Bond film. Hold on. Not the Peter Cushing. Hold on. Hold on. sorry, Dr. No was the first one. Dr. No, not From Russia with Love. But Casino Royale is I'm pretty sure it was the old Casino Royale. Where was it? Because it was actually done. There are two different ones. There's a weird James Bond that nobody talks about. Yeah, so okay, so there are two non-Eon. There's another one though. So Casino Royale with David Niven, not Peter Cushing, and that's from 67, and Dr. No's 62. So there are only two films that are non-Eon films. Casino Royale from 67, Dr. No's 62, and Never Say Never Again, which was a Connery film after he'd already retired, and that's 83. But I actually believe there is one more. I think maybe it was a TV show or a TV movie. I feel like there's one more with a Johnny Bond. When and where was that film? Or maybe it was a TV show, TV movie. But there was like nobody, like I don't think people know about those because I don't think it went anywhere. I really feel like there was some kind of weird attempt to do this thing and it didn't work out well and nobody remembers it. But yeah. George, the original song, right? George Kern. It was much more Bollywood-esque, for lack of better term. They played it in the QI Kip, which is the one that was about a man with an unlucky George Lazenby. Oh, I remember George Lazenby. No, he wasn't the George Lazenby was the one with Diana Rigg, right? So it was Sean Connery. Then Sean Connery quits. They bring in George Lazenby. George Lazenby only does one film because he felt like it would. There's a whole thing about like not wanting to do more than one film to not be typecast as James Bond. He thought it'd be bad for his career to do it more than once. And so then he did the one. He left. They went for so then they brought James Bond. They bought Connery. Oh gosh. So 67. Sean Connery does You Only Live Twice. That's also the same year that Casino Royale comes out, which is not from the same film company, and it's a parody. And then they bring in George Lazenby in 69 with Diana Rigg. He leaves, so they bring back Sean Connery for Diamonds Are Forever. And then he's done. And they bring in Roger Moore, who was very popular from the TV show The Saint, playing a spy. So Roger Moore does it from 73 up to... so he's doing it from 73 to, I mean, he does it for a really long time. He's just like to 85, right? So he's got 12 years as Bond. He does a whole bunch of films. Somewhere near the end of that, like 85 is the last Roger Moore, but 83 is when Sean Connery comes back for another non-Eon film. And then after, it might have been a TV movie, that weird one. So then after Roger Moore, who they got because it was a spy in a TV show, The Saint, they bring in Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton only gets 2 films, but I think he's really good. And they kind of like want to connect back to the George Lazenby in some ways. But there was a big backlash. I mean, in many ways, Timothy Dalton is very much like Roger Craig. So Timothy Dalton's Bond, which was 87, 89, is in the midst of the AIDS crisis. They do not have him running around having sex with people all left and right. And it's a little bit darker and a little bit less camp than Roger Moore became by the end. And some people liked that, but some people didn't they just kind of wanted a lot of sex. And so they got rid of Timothy Dalton and they brought in Pierce Brosnan, who was famous for playing a spy in the TV show Remington Steele. And he did, like 1, 2, 3, 4. He did like 4 movies, but also a video game. And then he left, and then they brought in Daniel Craig, and that was a huge scandal because he was blonde, and everyone like lost their minds because they're like, you can't have a blonde James Bond. That's the worst. The world will end. And he has been Bond for the last 5 films. This will be scandalous, but you prefer... Oh, Prax. It's no scandal for me. Sure, so the one in 67 had Woody Allen in it, didn't it? Maybe, yes, I have to double check. Yeah, I think I just don't like Bond films. And I do love Pierce Brosnan, or spy films. Parody spy films are okay. I think that, I mean, I like a good realist spy film rather than a cinematics. There's the realist and the cinematic, and I like a good realist spy film, which is why I did like the Timothy Dalton better than Roger Moore. Yeah. It's also why I liked the Craig Casino Royale and also the Craig Quantum of Solace and the first half of Skyfall, but not the second half, because basically the first half, that Skyfall was when, so Casino Royale, which I thought was really good, the Craig one, was more in the realist spy genre than the cinematic spy genre, and so was Quantum of Solace. But a bunch of people were really mad that he wasn't having enough sex, and they wanted it to be a lot more like the cinematic, kind of late cinematic Sean Connery. So Skyfall starts in the realist mode and then it ends in the cinematic mode. And in the process of going from realist to cinematic, they kill Judi Dench's M. They basically restore a male M. They basically go back to what it was like in the 60s. And I just was not about that. I was like, that's really disappointing. I just thought it was really disappointing. Artie's like, I think Pierce Brosnan is the only Bond that I've seen. Well, looking at the world now, maybe it did end with Daniel Craig. Maybe it did. My problem with Skyfall really was I don't like the dialogue. Oh, I didn't like the politics of it. There's like a bunch I did not like about it. I was like, no, I don't like that. Don't like it. I always preferred stuff like Mission Impossible, the TV show, not the Tom. Oh, Mission Impossible is great. TV show? Oh yeah. Technically, Mission Impossible is cinematic spy, not realist spy. Also, Jason Bourne, the Bourne movies, are also technically realist spy, but not, rather than cinematic spy. And you might be thinking, but cinematic equals high powered and explosions. That is not technically the difference between the two genres. The difference between the two genres is realist spy genres. Now, it is often such that realist spy films have fewer explosions, or TV shows have fewer explosions, and cinematic spy films have more explosions, but not necessarily, right? At least on the 90s TV shows or the 60s. Oh, the 60s TV shows are great. But the difference is that the realist spy genre is mostly about, it's about the relationship of the agent to the agency and the state to themselves, right? So in realist spy genres, the agent often cannot trust the agency that they work for, and being a spy is dirty business, right? Like there's usually like themes of paranoia, distrust. The realist spy often is betrayed, or they betray themselves. Like there's like the realist spy does not have ultimate agency. They are an agent, but they don't have ultimate agency. And in the cinematic spy genre, the agent can trust the agency they work for, and they have all of the agency, right? So that's like one of the big differences. The spy show you like was Get Smart. Oh, Get Smart. Did you also like Inspector Gadget? So James Bond tends to be a cinematic spy because he has all of the agency and the power. He can do what he wants without a lot of constraints, and also he can trust the agency that he works for. Until we got Daniel Craig, what Daniel Craig did was that Daniel Craig tried to inject, the Daniel Craig era tried to inject, at least the first 2.5 films, tried to inject a lot more of the realist spy genre into the Bond film, and people didn't like it. So they got rid of it. But Bourne was more realist, even though it was like, I think if you think about what the Jason Bourne films did in many ways, is they injected the kind of action movie aesthetic that you would tend to get in cinematic spy media, and mixed it with the sort of psychology and paranoia of the realist spy media. I was a target demographic for Inspector Gadget, so yes. I liked Chuck until I learned about how Zachary Levi was a big Trump supporter. Oh, I don't think I watched Chuck. I guess you'd have to call. I think you'd have to call Mission Impossible, the 60s TV show, cinematic. Same thing with Get Smart. Look, generally speaking, not 100%, but generally speaking, thank you, 6 p.m. Generally speaking, like, I think it's important that like realist spy genre is not the same thing as being realistic, because you could be over the top. It's just whether or not the spy themselves can trust themselves or the other or their agency, right? Um, Generally speaking, a lot of US spy media is cinematic rather than realist. We do have some. North by Northwest is realist spy, but also Hitchcock is British. Um, The Manchurian Candidate is realist spy. Um, where's our Wilderness of Mirrors in American spy stuff? A lot of the American versions of Bond are very like they're just we don't have a lot of. I think some of the Sean Connery ones leaned to realist, didn't they? Most of them didn't. Um, Mostly they didn't. Maybe Doctor No, like some, because maybe like one of the first earliest ones, but generally Sean Connery could trust the agency they worked for, and he had agency to do what he wanted, and he could always trust himself at least. Um, I think other than Covert Affairs, maybe Covert Affairs, yeah, yeah. Again, like early James Bond was not as over the top explosive and not as like campy and funny, but he tended to also have complete agency, and he could also tend to trust the agency that he worked for. He was never going to be double crossed by uh, MI6. So James Bond has rarely been realist. They try to do it with Daniel Craig. Um, they try to do it with Daniel Craig, and I think it's also important that Burn Notice, that's a good one. Yeah, Burn Notice is a good one. Yes. I feel like we must have had some in like some of the later spy shows, like not the agency though. I watched a little bit of that, but not a lot. Yeah, yeah. So it's it's just one of those things. We just don't have a whole lot of them. I think we do have some. There's a lot more of the realist spy coming out of the UK, but but you know what I'm saying. I do love a good realist spy genre. I do love a good realist spy genre. I do. I like it quite a lot. But um oh yeah, MI5 was pretty yeah. Like if I so in many ways like the central question of my spy class, which is about 1960 spies, right? Which goes from we do hit the 1950s just so you can see what was happening in 1950s media, which generally tended not to be spies, tend to be like cops and detectives. But we go basically from like we hit like the early class, just like what's happening in the 50s. But the spy boom really is 1960 to 1974. It sort of hits about 1960, and then it ends with basically Vietnam and Watergate, where people are like, no, we're not so interested in spies anymore, right? But that's like that's the era, and basically the spy genre falls out of favor, even though Bond keeps going on. But like all the spy TV shows kind of go off the air, and movies go from being spies to like conspiracy thrillers. So you go from like big spy movies to things like Night of the Condor, like it becomes like conspiracy thrillers where you are paranoid about the government being bad. Um, but so 60 to 74 basically is the big, and I will just note the spy genre comes back as a big deal again after 9/11. But the big question we're looking at in that seminar, which I really do need to teach again. I've not taught it in a really long time, and I want to teach it again. I wonder if the students nowadays can handle that class. Because it involves watching like 4 hours of media a week and then doing reading, and I don't know if the students nowadays can actually read or anyhow. So um but the big central question is in this moment of transition, when the British Empire is on the decline and the American Empire is on the rise, what does the spy genre and this role of the agent, how much agency do they have? What is their relationship to the agency they work for? How do they represent the nation state? And who are the villains that they're opposed? What does that say about this moment? Like, what are the concerns? How much of it is about like there are a lot of villains in American spy media who are feminists or people who care about the environment. A lot of the like who where are you going? Do you deal with the Soviet Union or do you not? Uh, from Russia with Love to the Soviet Union, after that they almost never do, right? Um, And then we do 1 week on Soviet spy films of that same era. What are they doing? If I could rearrange that course, I might be able to do some more like content. Like there's some good stuff from France and Italy. Might be able to do it. I don't know. But it's mostly about like how are these countries seeing themselves? What's the relationship between the individual and the state? What are the anxieties that these films are working through about yourself, your country? What does it mean to how do we compare the kind of American spy media when we're in like America's like, we're winning everything. Woo, we're so great. Yeah. Versus the UK, who is at kind of in an economic slump and in a colonial decline. So like it's super like I think it's a really I have not taught that class in way too long. I just it has actually been a really long time since I've taught a seminar at all with graduate students. Like it's not gonna be this year. This year I'm only teaching undergrad classes. Last year, I don't think I taught I don't think I taught a seminar last year. Did I teach a seminar last year? It's been a while because, all of my colleagues need to teach seminars and then things need to get covered and no one else is covering them so that I cover them. And so then I've not actually been able to teach my grad students for a while. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. Uh, yeah, Dr. No, and I was thinking you only live twice. This term is maybe need to play GURPS and watch some spy movies. Both of those things are true. I think I wouldn't mind a spy TTRPG even if it wasn't goofy because TTRPGs aren't passive. Yeah, absolutely. I would take your spy course via Discord. Well, I love that course because again, right? We do both film and TV and also music, right? So we think about spy music and spy. We don't. Do I actually do any reading? I think I might have a couple of short stories in there, just like a little taste. But we talk about like sets and costumes and sound and oh, I love that class. I really don't think I've taught it in way too long. Here's what we're gonna do, by the way. We're gonna look at this, go back to Aelin, and then we're gonna end it. So Maury said to collect seeds from her. I did. I did the lighthouse. The garden made me feel all jangly. It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Good job, I'm only writing it down. Aelin wants some Koroka so she can make some bath potion with it. We are going to give her. What we're going to do is give her the bath potion. Then we're going to go. Because that was our mission for the midday. Oh, I'm so excited for Rogue Trader. Oh, hold on. This is going to advance time, so we are not going to go in there right now because it will advance time and we do not want to do that. Instead, we want to save. Can we save? No? I guess we just... Do we save in this game? It's been way too long since I played it, obviously. Main menu? Okay. That's it. I don't want to go in there and, have that conversation which will advance time. So we're ending right there. That's it. This is where we're ending. Everyone go watch Reflect episode of Roleplay Reflect on YouTube as well. Oh, yes, please do. So let me tell you about what's up next. And I'm so excited. We are going to go raid, I think. So first off, I need to teach that spy class again. I really do. Very excited about it, and I haven't taught it in way too long. There are a bunch of classes, my seminars, that I really would like to teach, but I haven't been able to teach them in such a long time because I keep getting roped into other service courses. I teach so many different courses, and not all of my colleagues do. I've got colleagues who teach the same 5 courses and have for the last 20 years, and I just teach so many new courses, which is a lot of work, but it is what it is. Listen while working. Nice. So, let me tell you what's what. Right now is Thursday. We're going to raid somewhere, and we're going to watch Critical Role on watching it, and you can hang out in the chat with me on the Discord, which is good times. Tomorrow is Friday at 7 p.m. We're back with the Gamblers, our Traveler Pirates of Drynecks campaign, and I've got a bunch of work to do before we get there because I've been working with Corifon to go and get the combat sheet, the ship combat tab updated, and we did a lot of work on it. I don't think it's gone live for everybody, but I have the code, so I'm going to work on that. And then Saturday, my goal is to go and stream Heaven's Vault, because it has been way too long since I've streamed that, and I really want to get back to it and, translate some ancient languages. So that should be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then I've got to then I'm dealing with a academic panel. Then on Sunday, I've got Call of Cthulhu, but that's offline. You don't need to know about it. But then Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern will be the first episode of the new cycle, the second cycle. So this will be 40K Rogue Trader, GM'd by Wandering DM Simon, with our guest player Pope World build. And this is when we make characters. So we're going to make characters. If you have that PDF for Rogue Trader, come and make a character along with us. And that'll be the first of us 4 session cycle, which will be roll. And then we've got 2 plays in our reflect. And then we will be doing the third cycle, which is Traveler, GM'd by High Shelf David. And I'm moving right in the middle of that cycle. And then the last cycle is me doing Tachyon Squadron after I'm back in Massachusetts. So those are where you will find me in the next week. There are things that are going to have to be teased a little bit later, but that's not for the moment. So find me at Trooper SJP here and on YouTube. You can also find the Roleplay Reflect channel. And then also you can find me at Academic Foxhole. Oh, you can also find me at Trooper SJP and Blue Sky. You can find me at Academic Foxhole on Fourth Wall, and also on Patreon, which is our merch store, and the Patreon helps pay for the cast. Those are all the places you can find me. And that's what I'm doing. And I feel like... Oh, make a character. Do it. So then... I believe we do have to wrap. Oh, we have to wrap by 4. So we're going to go. Let me just see who is, if I just want to see whether or not they're up, out and about. Where's my raid? I don't know what that's the symbol. Let's see if Wandering DM is up and out and about, because I feel like the answer might be yes. Okay, we're going to go and raid. We're going to go and raid Wandering DM for their Witcher game, because Wandering DM has written for the Witcher and is awesome. So here is our raid command. Don't forget it. Nightbot. So let's give them some love, and then I will see you all for Critical Role. I'm going to make some food, and then we're going to do this together. Let's do it. Let's do a raid, shall we? And give them some love. So thank you, everybody. Take care. And, I will catch you on the flip side, everybody. Bye.